So, anybody who has questions, let us begin, and raise your hand, and we'll see how this goes, and to come on screen and camera and to ask some questions about music business, about something creative, anything about the entertainment industry that I might know that you might be interested in discussing, and whoever wants to start. I see someone with their hand up, so that's awesome. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to start with Cami, and I'm going to make you the panelist so that you can speak, and hopefully you can speak. Hi there, Cami. Oh, wait, I can't hear you, of course. So let's see why. Hey, wow, thanks for your patience.
All right, yay.
Yay.
I would love to know your opinion on the new DOJ rulings involving the 100% licensing and how that will affect us as songwriters.
That's so cool. Somebody asked me that too at the seminar in July. And you know, the DOJ ruling is really interesting because, first of all, it's not set in stone yet.
Okay.
And that's going to be fought pretty heavily. It's an interesting thing because, see, really, legally, songwriters are allowed to license their songs 100%. So if it's non-exclusive. So if you and I write a song together,
yeah,
and I want to license it, if it's non-exclusive, like to a movie or a TV show or anything, it's non-exclusive, really legally I can do that anyway. It's always been that way. It's actually been more of a courtesy that the people don't do that, or they agree up front. Like, I would agree with you up front before I wrote you that you have to let me do this, or I'm not going to write with you, because it takes too long to get everybody's approval. Right. But this issue is more not about you and I, we wrote a song and we're licensing it to Dancing with the Stars. It's really not about that. What it's more about is that ASCAP and BMI do blanket licenses. So they'll do a blanket license with, say, all the movie theaters, so they can play their music. So they go movie, chain to chain, and they collect revenue. Or they go to your local bar and grill on the corner that has music playing, and they demand a license, or they can't play music.
Right.
So what happens with that is every PRO has to separately go and get a license. This ruling is saying ASCAP will get the license 100% if they get there first. Let's say they get to the corner bar who has no licenses with the PROs, and they get there first. They do the license that they would have to be required to do it 100%. Should that happen, then if you're a BMI writer, now ASCAP has to figure out a way to pay you.
Yeah.
So it's a very unusual thing. However, also in this big picture, that bowling alleys and art stores and paint stores, everywhere that music is played, they run around getting little licenses to collect these bits of money. The interesting thing really about that is the only people who get that money are the top-tiered hit songwriters. Oh. So, like, let's say you're playing your music in a little club, right?
Yeah.
And it's your gig, and you're playing your music. You're not the one who gets from that fund. CSAC actually will pay you for live music if you send them the set list, but ASCAP and BMI don't even do that. So what happens is if you're playing your gig and you're an ASCAP writer in your little club, and the club has paid a fee to ASCAP for the year to do this license 100% on behalf of, and your co-writers are BMI and CSAC and whoever. Right. In the end, ASCAP isn't even paying you out; they're paying out Diane Warren.
Oh.
Because she's going to get a piece of that fund, and Sony and EMI and all of them, the big people are going to get a piece of that collection, but you don't even get it anyway, even though it's your gig. So it's kind of sucky, and it's kind of an interesting situation. So that's really what that 100% licensing is more about. It's not really about you and I writing a song and I'm going, hey, Cami, I licensed our song to Dancing with the Stars 100%.
Right. So it's not sync licensing as much as it is the performance licensing, right?
Yes, it's the big picture licensing of the broadcast stuff. It's not the individual stuff. It's not going to affect that. Because if you and I have an agreement that I can license 100% anyway, then
Right.
it doesn't matter. And if you and I have an agreement that I can't license 100%, then it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It really doesn't matter, because if you and I have a pre-existing agreement of how we're going to do this, right? Now, I always, to embellish that answer, I always, when I write with anybody, that's one of the things that I put in writing immediately. We each have to be able to license these things quickly, 100% one stop, because if not, the music supervisor doesn't have any patience for me to say, hey, I have to call Cammie and make sure it's okay with her.
Right.
I was going to hang the phone up and just disappear, right?
Yes.
So I have to say, yeah, I can license this 100%. I've already discussed this with you. It's all good. And legally, I don't even have to discuss.
You don't have to have that. That's right.
No,
I just
don't even have to have that discussion with you. The only time is for a first mechanical, because that's exclusive. Or if the song is going in an exclusive library, if I do that and it's exclusive, I cannot do that without your permission.
Okay.
Even with this 100% licensing, the 100% licensing doesn't deal with those situations, because those are different situations. Those are signing contracts that for special things, or for a record, a first mechanical, that's a mechanical license. It's not a performance license, so the PROs don't deal with that. They don't even have any jurisdiction over that.
That's Harry Fox agency.
Exactly, or direct. It doesn't have to be Harry Fox, but it is a mechanical license, and so because of that, the this DOJ ruling has nothing to
do with that. Oh, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, so I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Now I'm going to bring you back to a viewer, and I'm going to see who else has a question that's raising their hand. So somebody else had a question before. I think you could raise your hand again. And it can be a continuation of what we're discussing, or it can be something else, about something specific, about your own music, something you're trying to figure out. Nobody has a question? Deborah must have a question. Someone has a question. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so Angie, let's see, promoting you. Okay, so Angie, hi.
Hi.
Thanks for your patience too. You're so cute. So, okay, so what's your question?
She kind of answered it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
trying to think of another question though.
No, just enjoy and learn stuff. It's totally fine. Okay, so, and thank you for allowing me to figure all this stuff out here.
Absolutely.
So let's see. Next question is going to be from Hope. Hey, Hope, how you doing? Oh, I can't hear you. One sec. Okay, there.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is about royalties, specifically I'm with BMI, so it would be the PRO royalties. If you have a song, for example, I had some songs in television at the end of last year placed from a library, and I received my first royalty check from that last quarter for BMI, the fourth quarter of 2015.
Okay.
Maybe you won't be able to tell me this, but is it normal to expect that every quarter from then on I will see a royalty from that, or does it take a specific amount of time to translate, or how does that work?
That's an awesome question, and nobody has ever asked me that question before. That is a really great question. Okay, so also, just let me look at the chats for 1 second, because Deborah wrote, I saw in New York Times that Sona is suing the DOJ, but I haven't read. Yes, that's true. Sona is doing that, and everybody's going to do that, and ASCAP and BMI and all of that. So that's totally true, Deborah, because even though it's really less detrimental about that DOJ thing for songwriters, it's a pain in the ass for the PROs to have to pay out the other PROs and develop another system, and also it's just wrong. It's just wrong. So all these things that just demean songwriters are wrong and needs to be taken care of. So yes, so Sona is. So that is awesome. And okay, so now for this question about and thanks for posting the link for all of us too, Deborah. That's rocking. If you got paid, every quarter is different. See, because like, well, let's say what name one of the shows that
Married to Medicine.
Awesome. Okay, so you're getting paid for Married to Medicine. Now, payments depend on a few things. One thing is they depend on the day they aired, so for the quarter. They depend on the time of day that they aired. So different fees pay at different times of the day. So prime time pays the most, and daytime pays okay, and overnight pays like crap. And there's all these different tiers of payments, right? And so it depends when something airs. Usually from the date that something airs, it takes 3 quarters until you get paid. CSAC tries to do it in 2 quarters, but sometimes they don't make it. But usually, but they try. So it's usually 3 quarters from the air date. So obviously your things aired 3 quarters before. Now, Married to Medicine, let's say it's airing a lot right now because it's in production and it's new and it's airing and it's re-airing. But next quarter, something else on TV replaces it and it doesn't air. And it might not air again ever. Or it might air 2 quarters from now 50 times. So that's the problem, is you never know.
Okay, so it's kind of hard to predict. Yeah, that was my question.
This is how I predict. I monitor everything. So I have a list of every placement that I've had, and I kind of know it in my head, but I have a long list of every placement. So by that I mean the TV show, Married to Medicine, yes, and the episode. So you know what episode it's in, right?
Yeah, I think it's season 3, episode 1, but I have it written down somewhere.
Okay, great. Well, what you need to do as well is find out the name of the episode. So not just season 3, episode 1, but you need to find out the name of the episode, because when you're monitoring, they're listed by the name of the episode usually.
Yep, it's called Engagement Dinner to Remember.
Awesome. Okay, so perfect. So now as you keep getting placements, make yourself a little list in alphabetical order. Okay. And now, since you were interested in this issue, which I'm very interested in, and every week I go to zaptv.com and Zap to It. It's called actually Zap, the number 2 IT, zaptoit.com.
Okay, I'm going to write that down.
I used to use tvguide.com, but CSAC doesn't like that. So I'm being a CSAC writer, I use Zap to It now. But TV Guide works as well, tvguide.com. And now you're going to look up Married to Medicine, and you're going to scroll down every week and see if your episode aired.
Oh, okay, cool.
And now if your episode aired, I just keep a log. I copy and paste that into a nice log. And now, voila, when my statement comes, I can check. Because if I see that it aired and BMI doesn't pay it, then I have have a log that I can A/B like that. So now I know that it aired this quarter and you didn't pay me because it was listed. Now the second method of checks and balances, because unfortunately it's not always correct, because now Zap to It for the week is going to list the listings. It actually lists a 2-week listing, but I do it every week because things get subbed out. So this is a little bit of the problem, is you could go to BMI and they could say, yeah, but maybe they subbed it with another show and they ended up not using that episode, or they didn't, or a totally different show took that spot, because that does happen with TV, that things change out. So because of that, I use a system called TuneSat. It's TUNESAT. It stands for Tune Satellite. And you can get a copy of this recording. So yeah. Okay, so hopefully it'll work. Like last time the video didn't work. So, but this seems to be pretty stable. This recording right now. So TuneSat is an amazing thing. There is a fee for it, but if you have songs in a lot of libraries, it's really rocking. Because since the libraries don't usually tell you when there's a placement, like if it's your own placement and you get it directly, you know you got it. So you know you're going to be paid. But in the library, who knows when they play something. So this TuneSat, it watermarks your songs and fingerprints them. And then every time that episode airs, in real time, it's going to give you a snippet of that use. So you'll be able to even play it and hear it. And it's going to tell you that at 2 p.m. or 2:01 and 22 seconds, your song is in this TV show or movie or whatever it's in. And then you're going to be able to keep a log of that as well. so that you can see, you can say to BMI, well, in Zap2 it said it aired and TuneSat picked it up. So, you know,
Yeah, okay.
it aired and I would like to get paid for it. Now, the other issue with that is CSAC is a lot more willing to use the TuneSat detections than BMI. BMI might tell you, too bad we didn't get notice of it, and even though it aired and TuneSat is showing that it aired and you can give me you can even send someone the MP3 from it, you might have to fight. So, but still, at least you know, and I use both systems and I keep a total record. And then let's see, Cami is saying in addition, so does Meredith need to submit her own cue sheet to BMI when she discovers it's been aired? Okay, so that's a great question too, Cami. So I personally always suggest sending my own cue sheet. However, if this comes through a library, it might be a little difficult to get the cue sheet herself.
It does come through a library. It's MIB music.
Yeah, so, you know, I will say that it would behoove MIB Music to have the cue sheet and for you to even notify them maybe if a few quarters go by and you still haven't gotten paid for something, because if you're not getting paid, they're not getting paid.
Right? Very
Because
true.
they have half of it. Now, the interesting thing I have found with the libraries is sometimes for some reason they don't care. So it's the weirdest thing that they would waste the time getting the placement, and then if you bring it to their attention, they might see you as a pain in the ass, which they do with me. They see me as a complete pain in the ass because I'm always going to them, don't you want to get paid? I didn't get paid, so you didn't get paid. You know, so it's an interesting situation. And I'm going to just keep toting CSAC right now, because right now CSAC actually is not as good as it used to be, and it's gotten very, very corporate. But still, if I call my person at CSAC and I go, can I have that cue sheet for the episode of Married to Medicine and this episode? They're going to send it to me. They're super cool, and they're going to send me the cue sheet. If you ask one of the film and TV people at BMI, can you send me this cue sheet? They're probably going to tell you to jump in the lake.
Yeah.
And if at ASCAP, which I don't recommend for anyone who writes vocal music, but ASCAP, however, does have something that's cool, because they have in your portal, in your ASCAP portal, they have the cue sheets. So pretty much they actually supply the cue sheets to the writers.
Okay.
So it's a kind of cool service. Now, if you have an ASCAP co-writer, you could actually ask them to go in and try to see if the cue sheet has been submitted. So you could do it that way, because BMI, although I like BMI, they're much better for someone like you who's doing vocal music than ASCAP. They're a little difficult with the cue sheets. You gotta go take someone to lunch and make friends with them or something, because they're really hard to give them, you know, to obtain those cue sheets. The other thing you can do is try in a polite way to go to the music department of Married, you know, to Medicine, and ask them for the cue sheets. However, they might not be friendly as well.
Yeah, I remember at your seminar, which obviously I was lucky enough to get to go to, they were basically, you were talking about IMDb Pro and how you could make an account on there, and that's a good way to connect with people. So I did that, and I was trying to find like the music supervisors for the show, and I wasn't able to find that specifically. I was able to find some music soups that work at Bravo, but not specifically that show. So I'm not sure if maybe there's a better way or a better service to try and connect with them.
So now watch the show. First of all, watch the show. Tape it and see if you can see who the music supervisor was, because often they're listed. Sometimes they're not listed on IMDb. The IMDb is not always correct either, just like nothing is always 100% correct.
Right.
So, or if the music supervisor should be listed at the credits at the end of the show. If the music supervisor is not listed, then the next thing you do is find one of the producers on the show.
Okay.
Contact them. Now, how are you going to get their information? Make friends with them on LinkedIn. Make friends with them on Facebook. You know, just it's constant research and checks and balances, and that's what I do to try and get these cue sheets.
Right.
And again, if like Raymond Rodriguez, he's the main film and TV guy over at BMI, and of course he does most of this kind of cue sheety stuff. And then there's Doreen, of course, she's super nice actually, Doreen Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow get in there with her, make a meeting, get friendly. Maybe someone will help you, because the more that you're polite and friendly and
Right.
you know, and sweet like you are and talented, people might help. Yes. So, you know, we're all at the mercy of somebody helping us.
Very
we're
true.
sort of on the bottom of the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I hope that that helps. And about the Cammie's question, which was great about adding to it, you know, about the submitting the cue sheet, because now when you sign those contracts with the PROs, all of them say in their contracts that we, the writers, are responsible for submitting the cue sheets.
Right.
And that's, of course, a catch-22, because the productions don't want to give the writers the cue sheets, and the music supervisors don't want to, and nobody wants to, but yet the PROs at the end of the day require that. So even the PROs are constantly being fed cue sheets from all the productions.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually, in effect, say it's not their job. Not my job to find this cue sheet, it's your job.
Right.
And that makes it more difficult. Now at CSAC, they're a little more helpful. They really are. Like if I write and call at CSAC and I go, I cannot find this cue sheet for this production, and I have music in it, they will actually be more helpful to help you find the cue sheet.
Cool.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool. And many cue sheets I have found that way. Whereas, you know, like my BMI main co-writer, he forget it trying to get a cue sheet.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I hope that's helpful.
Yes, very helpful. Thank you so much. Of course.
Yeah.
Always helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I'm navigating this little system here. Okay. So I think, Ben, did you have a question, or Deborah? Somebody had a question before? I'm wondering too, can you raise your hands while someone's speaking? I'm wondering. Let's see, Ben. Okay, Mengting and Cammie will come to you again, but let's see, I see. Ben, did you have a question, or is it not your hand that was raised? It's a little tricky seeing. Oh, and if you can't speak, Ben, you can type.
Can you hear me, Michelle?
Oh my God, I can hear you. That's awesome, Ben. Yes.
Okay, great.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, a real quick one regarding TuneStat. I know that TuneStat is pretty granular as far as what you can select to have them monitor, meaning domestically and internationally.
What do you mean by granular?
Well, every country on the planet. You know, when you.
Oh, you mean they? Go on.
You know, when you first join, you have the option of selecting just domestically the United States, or you can go and have them monitor also what's happening in Japan and everywhere in Europe and elsewhere on the planet. So my question is, you're a member of TuneStat. How deep into that scenario do you go as far as selecting all of the different countries that you want them to monitor for you?
Cool. That is a great question too, and one no one's ever asked me, and that is an awesome question, because it's really interesting. I actually have a package, I think, that comes with the US, UK, Germany, France, and maybe that's it. For a while I had Scandinavia, but the problem is this. It really makes no sense for anything except the US, except for interest, like human interest. And maybe to look and see, did you get paid from France when your statement comes for this stuff? Or if you have a sub-publisher in a certain territory, maybe it's useful. Like I have a sub-publisher in France, and so sometimes if they don't pay me, I send them all this information, and then they go to SACEM, and SACEM is their equivalent of ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, their PRO, and my sub-publisher tries to find the money. So that's good. But if you don't have sub-publishers in place and you're just collecting most of your money straight from the PROs for your foreign money, which most of them I am too, because I find that the sub-publishers are kind of useless and they take a piece out, and I might as well just collect directly for the performance money. TuneSat is not helpful because the PROs won't deal with that. They're barely dealing with the detections domestically, but if you come to them and you show them that your song is aired in Germany 60 times, they're going to tell you, you know, it's not my fault. GEMA, the German PRO, paid us what they paid us on you and this song, and that's the deal. And if the payments are under $50, they won't even deal with this going back to GEMA, and so it's very difficult to deal with the foreign stuff. So TuneSat really is a domestic tool, because monitoring Europe is impossible, and thus brings us to the discussion of the fact that songwriters just get screwed, and publishers, constantly, because that is this big empty space of money that we never get, that just black boxes everywhere, that lines those PROs' pockets that we just never get, you know? Even I've had my sub-publisher marches into SASM all the time and goes, look, 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 and they like send him home, you know? And he wants it to find the money because he gets a piece of it. So it behooves him to walk in there, but then they're like, you know, so that's why with TuneSat, it's actually a great question, because I really recommend paying less for extra services and less for fun. It would be fun for you to see what's airing on TV in Scandinavia, because you really financially can't use the information at this point in time very much. But maybe in the future, it will be, you know, everything might become a little more transparent, and things might become more digitally organized, and everything might be more connected. But right now, it's still like the Wild West, really, you know?
Okay.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. I am a member of TuneSat, and I've often wondered, you know, should I get involved with some of this international stuff? And I really haven't, because, well, obviously, as you well know, for every country that you select, they up the ante in the cost of TuneSat. So it can get kind of pricey if you get too wrapped up in it. So yeah. I think your answer about it's a domestic tool is good. That's great.
Good. And you know, let's say you have something that you do for Germany or something specific.
Yeah.
Then you might want to, if it's something very specific that, you know, so yeah, that's what I feel for TuneSat. Let's see, so there's some chat here.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome, thank you. So for all the money we never get, okay, Cammy's saying, I was told hiring an administrator would be beneficial. Do you have one, and would you suggest that? And where do you find them? Okay, that's a huge Pandora's box. That's a great question, Cammy. Okay, every administrator that I have had has done a crappy job. I do a better job, and CSEC will attest to that. I drive him crazy. And I find that I don't know any administrators that do a good job. I really wish I did, because I would hire them in a second. And I really wish that I could tell you where to find a good one, but they all suck. So for a while, I had a couple that I paid by the hour, which I much prefer than giving them a percentage, because if it was a little license and I paid them $90 an hour, it was much cheaper than them taking a piece of it. However, I will say that for tracking this stuff, using TuneSat, using Zap2It, administrating it yourself is the better job. To read a film or TV license that's non-exclusive, they're 2-3 pages the most. They all say the same thing. They're very easy to learn to read, and I suggest doing that. Mechanical licenses for records are standard. Every label, they're all the same. They're 2 pages. They're very short. There's nothing really major about them that you need to have an administrator take care of. And all the administrator does is take a piece. So unless you have some massive volume, but then I would suggest hire someone who works for you. You know, like Diane Warren, for instance, who has people in-house who work for her, and they don't take a piece, and she pays them, and you know, that work can work well too. But I've never met any that did a good job. So, and I've had many. It's not like I haven't had many. I've had many, and none of them have done any good job, not from Universal to Chrysalis to private people to, in the end, I'm always finding the money. I'm always the one who finds the money and deals with it. So I would say if you all can learn to be savvy with your business, it's just, that's why things like, I think this, getting knowledge, are really important, because if we all are savvy with our business, we don't need to be paying people to do this kind of stuff. It's pretty cut and dry and simple, especially for film and TV. For the radio, it's impossible. If you have a song on the radio, monitoring it is impossible. So you're going to go to BMI and CSAG and ASCAP, and you're going to go, my song aired, blah, 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 and they're going to start talking algorithms with you, and they're going to start talking all this crap, and it's really, really difficult to monitor. However, if you have a mechanical, that's easier, because if the song has sound scanned 500,000 copies and they only paid you from Sony 200,000 copies, you can go to Sony and go, where's my money? That's a little cut and dry and easier to deal with. But for the radio, it's impossible anyway. So let's see, Ben talking in space. Yeah, we know we're having trouble with Ben's video, so we're glad that we can hear him, and that's okay. So let's see. Deborah's saying, what about cue sheets for film placements as opposed to TV placements? This is the same thing, Deborah, same exact thing. You just have to get them, round them up. But let me put you on you know, video, and we can hear you and we can talk. So let's see. 1 second here. Let's see if you're there. Oh, I have to unmute you. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're here. Perfect. Yes. Hi, Deborah. So cool. So that's a good question, and it's the same. So you have to.
But with TV shows, usually there's a staff there for a while, or there's a network that's associated with it if it goes off the air. But with a film, they produce it for 3 months, and then the office closes down. So how do you track it if you don't have it now? For example, the movie, we both have a song in Sunday Horse. I don't have a cue sheet. I don't know. I mean, at least I know Michael, and I can ask for it.
I can give it to you, or ask Michael. Michael should have the cue sheet because he is the music supervisor.
How did you get it? Did you just ask him?
Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a year ago or something, because I asked him for it. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if I needed to wait until after it got released, so I've been waiting, and it still hasn't been released. So
you can ask for it any time, and they might not have it, but if they have it, you know, usually they have it, because once the production is locked, like you're saying, they usually have it. Yeah. Okay. So you can just ask. I mean, you do pose a good question, though, because, you know, I do have like 2 films that I cannot get the cue sheets for. The music supervisors tell me they quit the movies, and they don't know. And I've made friends on LinkedIn with the director and the producer who don't answer the question. And I've discussed with the CSAC, who can't get the cue sheet out of them, has tried. So, you know, that's definitely an issue. And of course, now, is it illegal? Of course, now, can writers be able to shut down a film airing for that? Yes, but try to do it. It's very difficult. So, I mean, these are the difficulties, unfortunately, that we all face, right? They suck because the people, nobody cares about us. And even the music supervisors who I'm close to, I work with them all the time. Sorry, hands in the air, to have no idea what happened to that cue sheet. You can try the composer, because the composer is the person who makes the cue sheet. So the composer, part of the composer's job is to make the cue sheet and to include the songs in the cue sheet. So even though he didn't create the songs, his job really is to create the cue sheet and include all the incidental songs that he didn't use in the cue sheet for a movie, especially for a movie. I mean, if you're doing a TV show and let's say it's produced by Boone and Murray, then usually the music supervisors there are choosing the cues and putting everything together because they're using stock score. They're not even using a composer, right? So that's a different story. But for, sorry, Harry, give me a note. So for a movie, however, it's really the composer's job. So you can try to find the composer, see if they put the songs in, and maybe they're going to tell you, oh, shoot, I didn't know I was supposed to do that, or shoot, I forgot to do that, or oh my goodness. And you can even try to get them to revise the cue sheet if you make friends with them. because revised cue sheets can be submitted. But you can see there's all these obstacles, right? And of course the cue sheet is God. So if you don't get the cue sheet, you don't get paid. You know? So, and there are times when you get paid.
For film, you get paid the license fee, but if it airs on TV at some point, you don't get paid unless it's
get paid. Or foreign, because the foreign airings you get paid for the box office. So even,
oh, really?
Yeah, because see, that's what the sync fee does. Like in the US, there's a sync fee. And in the rest of the world, they don't even do a sync fee. It's usually just a free license, a gratis license, part of getting the song cut. Especially in Japan, it's all included. But they paid for the box office. So you'll see that on your performance statement, actually. You'll see film. So you can't get paid that if there's no cue sheet, because you know the cue sheets get submitted all around the world. So in addition to receiving the cue sheets, the PRO's jobs are to distribute the cue sheets to all the performance societies around the country. So now if you have a sub-publisher, you can send the sub-publishers the cue sheets you have as well. But if you are collecting just with the PRO, right, then ASCAP BMI-CSEC, part of their job is to supply all the foreign affiliates with that cue sheet. So that's how they have the cue sheet, so that they can send the funds back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if the film hasn't been released though, who is he going to send the cue sheets to?
I do. I send the cue sheets to CSAC if I have them, like the Sunday Horse side, they have that cue sheet, and then they still send them out to the other PROs around the world. They don't care if it's aired or not. They don't ask. They never ask me if something aired.
If I ask Michael for the cue sheet, do I have to tell him why I want it? And then when I have it, what do I do with it? Do I send it to ASCAP or just hang on to it?
So he should assume you want the cue sheet because you want to get paid. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And yes, you send it to ASCAP. And Sean Lamone would be a good person, I would think.
Who is it?
Sean Lamone, he's the main TV guy over there.
Okay.
Lemone. Or you could write him and ask him, should I submit the cue sheet to you, or where do I submit the cue sheet to? And you should also go look in your ASCAP portal. Have you looked to see if it's there? Because it might be there.
It's not there.
Well, then just ask Michael. I mean, he might, Michael, he might be nice. He might not be nice. I mean, that's the whole thing. You try and write him an email, and hopefully he'll send you the cue sheet. Or I have the cue sheet. I'll send it to you. So, yeah. So
I have one other question. I was when I joined you remember the Recording Academy?
Yeah.
So I joined a long time ago, about 10 years ago, when I didn't have the credentials to be a voting member. But then over the years, I obviously developed the credentials, and then I just never followed up. I didn't really care. And then recently I was at some workshop, and the head of membership happened to be there on the panel, and he said, oh yeah, just, and I asked the question, how do I upgrade? Because I've been a member all these years, and how do I upgrade to be a voting member? I might as well be, because I'm qualified. And he goes, oh yeah, just email me. So I email him, and he goes, yeah, you send me, he said, send me the credentials. So I made, copies of all the CDs and all my credits on the CDs and all of that, and emailed them to him. He said, okay, this looks fine to me. He said, when you submit the membership form, let me know right away, and I'll flag it before one of my staff members get it. And so I was already a member, but I said, okay. So I go to the membership form thinking maybe there's some other form to upgrade. And there really isn't. And so every time I would go to the membership form, it would say you're already a member. So I told him, what happened. And he said, oh, I didn't realize you were already a member, which he should have, but okay. And he said, okay, I'll handle it. And then I didn't hear from him. And I sent him a couple of emails, didn't hear back. So I don't know how to not be a pain in the neck, but still get what I'm qualified for, since I'm paying for membership anyway, and it's the same price.
Oh my God.
Any ideas?
That's so messed up. Yeah, you got to find somebody else in membership. Who is this person?
This is like the head guy, the head of membership.
What's his name?
Robert. Hold on.
I know who you're talking about.
Rob. Yeah.
Who you're talking about. I had trouble with him too for something.
You did.
He's not very friendly, and he's so bad at responding. I would say, first of all, when you go to renew your membership, you just click on the box that says voting. they might require you then. So you're saying, but you have to get approved. You haven't gotten approved yet. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna write me an email, and I'm gonna give you a couple of names of people to write, other people, because I know him, and I had trouble with him too. You should definitely be able to take care of this. I have a lot of trouble with NARAS. I was even served on a committee last year. I have a lot of trouble with them, and I actually wrote Neil a letter yesterday. So I know him because I had some hit songs with him when he was at Jive. I've known him for 35 years. Yeah, I finally got so fed up with NARAS, I wrote him yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm so fed up.
Did he respond?
Oh, he will. His assistant called me to send the email. He will. Yeah, but so you definitely have to just go a different avenue, and I'll help you find another person to help you do that. Yeah, because that's so irritating. I so agree with you. It's very.
And then he keeps like sending me down some path that just makes no sense. It's like approve it or don't approve it, but
right,
you know.
Exactly. Okay, so just write me an email for these things, and I'll send you the Kushina.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. Laura has a question, so I'm gonna go to Laura. One sec. Try to get her connected here and try to change things. That's the hardest thing here is maneuvering for people. Well, no, I'm sorry, I messed up. Okay, Laura, hi. Are you there? Let me see if I can unmute you now. This is really the hard part. Okay, there you are.
Wait a second now. Okay, that should probably do. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. And let me see, what is the main reason for the reduction in revenue for songwriters and the price of female? That's a great question. Is that your question?
That is.
That's an awesome question. Okay, so why is there a reduction in revenue? From so many reasons. One reason. So many reasons. One reason, small reason, okay, revenue from, let's say, movies and TV. Why? Because all these young, stupid artists and songwriters are going around giving their music away for free, for exposure. So exposure because they're still working in McDonald's because they're getting exposure, but they're not making any money. So they originally started with ad cards on TV, which is basically a credit, like a nice credit that, with your name and the song title and blah, 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 in exchange for not receiving any money up front or in exchange for receiving a very reduced fee. Everybody went, cool, I can be on TV too. So that's part of why that happened. And then they come to people like us and they go, well, Jane's Dog, the band Jane's Dog gave it to us for free, so why should we pay you, right? So this started this terrible cycle. And that's why, like, 10 years ago, let's say on Ghost Whisperer, I would have a song use the new song for a minute and get like $6,000. And now if that show were in existence, maybe it would be $500. Or maybe they try to get it free. I have NBC sometimes asking me for gratis. So that's one reason. The other reason is, again, just discussing film and TV, is because there's 8,000 TV networks right now. And all the money comes from the same small pot, which is advertising, right? Mm-hmm. So whereas the advertisers used to have to spread their money among 3 networks or 20 networks, now they spread their money among 8,000 networks. It's the same advertisers, the same amount of money. So every year, the PROs collect revenue from the advertisers. That's how they pay. That's how the PROs get their money to pay for our uses, is from ad dollars. So now, because all the ad dollars are smaller from every network, because there's so many of them, each network is getting less. Mm-hmm. They're paying less to the PROs. So now when you used to have a song on a CBS show, primetime, you might make $2,000. Now in royalties, you might make $1,000. Mm-hmm. And if you have a show on Oxygen, you might make $1. And it's because there's less, they're just spreading the money out. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And the first part of that, about the newbies doing things for free, is basically what has happened to the singers and actors unions.
Right.
Because the up and comings figure they're going to get exposure and then they're going to get hired. But no, that's not what ends up happening, because who wants to pay for anything they can get for free? And now that the arts are flooded with so many really good people, where that's not the way it was a long time ago. I understand that they hired union people because they knew they were going to get quality.
Isn't that amazing too? Like how many great singers there are and how many great songwriters there are, and there's so much content out there. You're exactly right. I don't understand that. There used to be a handful. There used to be 20 music supervisors and now there's 2,000. I mean, it's like, it's just,
I don't know either.
I think, computers, MIDI technology has allowed a lot of people to get involved in stuff they didn't or know about it, because maybe if you lived in Oshkosh, Kansas, you didn't even have an option, but now you're exposed to that.
Yeah, you can kind of be in the heart of it without really being there, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe you had some talent and you could really express it. So this is a problem. And now, of course, why have mechanical sales plummeted? Because no one buys any music.
Well, yeah,
right? No one buys anything. They're streaming, 15 million streams, $10. I mean, so there we have that problem of the decline in revenue from absolutely everywhere. Yeah. So it's just a whole disaster, really, that we're supposed to keep being positive about and hopeful about, but it's quite a disaster.
Is there any direction to go to? I mean, like, you can't unring the bell, I guess, but is anybody coming up with anything?
Well, there's interesting things. Of course, there's the do-it-yourself stuff, the YouTubers who make 6 figures, for people who are independent artists like you who are so fabulous. That's an awesome way to go. There's crowdfunding, which I used to think sucked. I thought, how disgusting. People are out there begging for money. But to be honest with you, now I see crowdfunding is brilliant, because it's like a patron, like Rembrandt had a patron. And Mozart had a patron, and these people were artists, and their patrons supported them, and so these platforms of crowdfunding are actually pretty awesome, because it takes us back to the real time where the fans are in control. They love your music. You have a fan base. So a lot of people I know, they fund themselves, by crowdfunding, which is pretty fantastic, and the fans are thrilled. And also, I know someone who does this really cool thing where she has this 2-song-a-month club, and she has a big fan base, and she makes 2 songs a month. One is a cover and one is a new song. And her patrons sponsor that. They pay her a monthly fee, $20, $10, I'm not sure what it is. It's something like that, but she has a ton of them, right? And she makes money that way. It's really brilliant. And also, she does house concerts in her own home, and she feeds them. And you're a great cook. She cooks and she feeds them, and they come and pay money to hear her perform and be part of this thing. I mean, one could even do that in a venue that's bigger, Yeah. And so the artists and they're making real money this way, like not like $1,000 a year. I'm talking real money, 6 figures doing this. I mean, advertising is still a way to make money. The ads pay also half of what they used to, but they still pay, if you can land an ad, you can make 40 grand, 50 grand sometimes. Mm-hmm. So this is, very difficult, but not everything is difficult. So if we just keep being tenacious and throwing stuff out there, right?
Well, that's it, because it's so easy to feel like to grieve for the loss of these opportunities, and that puts you in a state of not being creative about imagining what could be.
Right, because we know that. But now take someone like like Hope. Hope is young, and Hope doesn't know that. She doesn't come from a time of this. Or Maintain or Ruby, who are here, they're very young and they don't have that perspective. For us, it's a death, because we understand, right, how incredible it was, and what the money was, and what the opportunities were. But so I guess we have to be like younger people and explore this new system of possibilities all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm turning the corner on that. I definitely am feeling more optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. And Hope wrote something. Oh, she has to go. Yeah, sorry, because it took so long for to get this stuff together. But I hope that was helpful.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's see. Mengting, I think you had a question before. If you're still with us, I'm not sure if you're still with us. I think she is. Okay, cool. And Zach, let's see. Hey, Mengting, one sec. Let me unmute you because
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Fantastic. Hi.
Okay, thank you for sharing all this. And my question is, I wonder, you know, Cobalt music, right? I wonder if, because people say that it's a new music publishing company and they are using the high technology, do you think it is, what's the main difference between that and the traditional music publishing company? Do you think that's really the trend of the future of music publishing?
Well, that's a good question, especially personally to me, because I was signed to Cobalt for 7 years as a sub-publisher. And I thought they did a horrendous job. They were terrible. Again, speaking of poor administrators, for me personally, they did a terrible job. And they didn't do any better of a job than anybody else. They weren't any more transparent is the word they used than anybody else. I get their statements still because they still send me a trickle of money and statements here and there. And they actually said my catalog was too big because at one point I said, why aren't my songs registered with you? There's like 600 of them that aren't indexed. And they told me my catalog was too big to register it all. And I said, but look, here's my CSAC statement. And here's all the money that I'm making on those particular titles that you don't want to register. And they said, okay, send us 100 titles. We'll register 100. We're not registering the rest. And so I was infuriated with them. I thought they did a terrible job. And I'll tell you why I know that, because I pay attention. So that's the whole problem, is that most songwriters and most publishers even don't pay attention. They don't notice they're missing money. They don't notice that they didn't get paid. They don't notice the songs aren't registered. They don't notice anything. And so because of that, they think Cobalt does an amazing job because they didn't look. But if they really, in my humble opinion, took a look at their statements and what's missing and figure it out, to me, Cobalt doesn't do any better of the job at all.
Okay, but are they really using a new kind of technology to track?
No.
Or no?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, they're just saying that they're being more transparent about it, so they're letting their participants see more clearly where the money is coming from. And but I mean, I can send you one of their statements, and you can look at it. And their statements are so difficult to read. And I'm great at reading these statements. Their statements are among the most difficult I find to understand and read. So
is that okay to see that their statement and the statement from other publishing companies?
Yeah, I can send you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I want to take a look and see the difference. And
I find theirs among the most difficult to understand.
Okay, thank you.
They're just strange. So
yeah,
I don't think that's the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, they'll probably hate me for that. But look, I can only do from my own experience with something like that. You know, 7 years was a long test. That was a long enough test.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else, Mengting?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And anybody, Ruby, anybody, Ben, want to ask anything, or anybody? No. Okay. Little Ruby, no, nothing, and nobody? Okay. Well, then I'm sad. I wish you had some more questions, but that's okay. And cool, Ben. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And one sec. Let's see if I can unmute people here so that people can, let me see something. Unmute. Oh, wow, there's a little spot where I can unmute you. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. You can all say something.
Hi.
Hello,
Thank you for
Michelle.
helping me. Thank you for helping me so much with the test. And yeah, and you know, just write me so I remember to send you that stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you for helping. Sorry about all the tech stuff, but that's, you know, that was
No
for
problem.
helping so much for me. Thank you very much. Okay.
Well,
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
bye, thanks.
Thanks.
So what do we do now?
Yeah.
You just sign out. You just
I'll
leave.
just hit leave meeting.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of like Songy, but not really. It's a little more complicated, actually. Don't you think, Ben?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it is a little more complicated on your end, though, because, well, let me ask you, can you see everyone all at once?
Now I can, because I have you in some strange mode that Harry tells me is not good because it takes up too much bandwidth. And if
Okay.
I have 50 people like I had at the last live one, then I can't have everybody on camera. So then I have to keep bringing them on as they raise their hands.
Okay.
I think it's cool to see everybody though.
I know, it's so super
Yes.
cool. I don't know how to do it. It's so much better to see everybody. But
Yeah.
it's very complicated to make someone a panelist so they can speak and mute
Right.
them. It's actually, yeah, more complicated than the classroom. So
Yeah, it seems to be kind of labor intensive on your end where you have to recycle everybody through every time you want to talk with them.
yeah, like even Laura wasn't on, now she is.
Yeah.
Painting.
But hey, Michelle, I have to tell you, this is a great idea you're doing here.
Oh, good. So it was
And it's a
helpful.
great session, and the people that attended today, these folks are very knowledgeable. I mean,
Well, everybody that attended today is successful and knows their stuff. So I kind of wanted that group so that we weren't what's a sink, what's a master.
Right.
yeah, I can tell. I can tell that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that I'm going to send to the main thing for October 6th the handouts first and hope they read them first. So again, we bypass some of the simple questions of what's a writer share and what's a publisher share, and we can really get down to things we discussed today, the nitty gritty of you know, stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I'm hoping that, but I'm not sure people will read them. That's the only thing. You give people stuff and they don't read it. So.
And does Harry have any idea why my video won't work when I
No, but he came in and he left me a note that said, "Don't end the seminar when you're done. I want to sign in and try something regarding the video." So he left me a note. So if you want to stay for a sec, Ben, actually, maybe you can do it with you.
Sure. Yeah. I can do that.
Thank you, the best, Ben.
Michelle, do you still plan to do the in-person ones anymore?
Yeah, I like doing the in-person ones myself because I like the party.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, Laura, you would love
With
it.
people and meet people in person and shake their hand and get their card
And everybody networked with each other. So that was the most awesome thing, was that I didn't think that would ever happen. Like the first time I did it, I never thought that I thought people would kind of be snobby to each other for some reason. I don't know why, but people were embracing each other instantly. And every seminar, the people have made friends and collaborated. And
I'm still in touch with people from the first one I attended. And you know, you become Facebook friends. You see them at the ASCAP Expo. You know, you just see them after a while, a few times, and become, you know them. And a lot of them from my first session of yours.
Oh, that's so cool. See, that was so cool. That was so exciting. That was the best part, actually. So the first one went so many hours. The last one was weird, but everyone just stopped. That was really strange.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at 6 o'clock, everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They just got up.
I was like, what happened? The other ones went to like 7, 8.
I know, they go a long time.
Yeah. So I was kind of, so I love doing the in-person ones, but you know, because the video this happened because the video didn't work at the last session. You know, Harry
I was wondering, you usually send them.
Yeah, I told everyone I was going to send it, but nothing, the video was empty, nothing recorded, something went wrong. So then I went, you know, people from all over the world keep asking me to be able to attend, and they're not here. I mean, Ben's not here, I mean, in LA. And so I decided to do this so that everybody people could come from different places.
Can you combine the two? Can you have an in-person event and also have people joining from, you know, have a camera there and joining, you know, from around the world?
That's the next thought. Yes, I would love to do that. It would be awesome if through this program there could be some video posted on the wall, and could be an interaction of both. I think that would be incredible.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
And I hope that there's the technology will allow that, or something like that. Harry has to look into that, because, you know, my tech skills are so poor. So you know, I rely on help.
Maybe you can do it live and then have this there, even if it's something like this, let's say, have this there, and then at a point or throughout, you go to the screen person, to the Skype version, and say, you know, Ben from Milwaukee has a question, or whoever you're from.
Yeah, and it could be broadcast over the PA.
Yeah.
It would be awesome. I so agree with you. It would be so cool. Plus, you know, you get a different perspective when people are from different places, especially.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for the Europeans to come in October, because they have different issues, and the Japanese and you know, the Chinese, who have 2 Chinese people, nationals here today. The difference in the businesses are different, and the discussion is broader, because of course we all want to place our music everywhere, right? So, you know, because there's a whole world out there, which Laura really is a good point too, because, you know, in Asia you can still make some money. So not in China, because they don't pay any royalties, or Korea, but in Japan, I mean, the royalties are huge. And if you can figure out how to crack that, because like I have a song coming out today, I wrote with Larry actually, that on a boy band, but like I was telling you, but I don't understand the formula. Like, I have some friends who like every month get 3, 4 cuts and hits in Japan, and I've gone to the writing camps and don't get the formula. I don't really get it. I just get lucky.
So the formula in terms of getting the cuts, or in terms of getting paid?
The creative formula.
Oh.
The actual creative formula of writing the song. You know, like they like intros that are like 2 minutes long, and they like verses.
Really?
16 bars long, and then they like all these extra embellishments. And I sit in these writing camps, and they give seminars like this about how to write a boy band song, how to write a catwalk song, they call it, how to write a sad song, you know, all these things. And I don't know, it's like for me, whenever I get a cut in Japan, I got lucky. I really got lucky. But I have friends who really make this their market, and they're making all kinds of money, and somehow in their brains they have cracked the code.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, look, I don't know how anything has ever happened for me. It's all just, you know, luck, I think. Yes, you have to have good songs, but to have the right song, you know, for, let's say, a TV placement, get to the right person at the right time for exactly what they need, that's just, you know, I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know either. For me, it's been luck too. So, you know, and tenacity and throwing things against the wall.
Right.
There's at least 20 writers, maybe 30 writers I know who are getting Asian cuts all the time, and they really, there's something that they do. There's something that they understand where the songs wouldn't get cut here. They wouldn't get placed here.
Michelle, do you know Joey Carbone, the big Japanese?
I just wrote with him recently. I've known him for like 30 years.
Yeah, okay.
He's one of those people. He's one of those people that, Larry and I wrote with him. We wrote a really cool song with him. But yeah, he's one of those people that has cracked the code. And he and I have the same publisher in Japan. So,
right.
But Joey gets many more cuts in Japan, because he somehow, and it's not even something I think he can explain. It's just, that's like the whole thing. And a lot of these people have studied this Asian music. There was a guy at the last seminar in July who does that. I think you talked to him, Glenn? And his music is great.
It is great.
Crack that Japanese boy band thing, he just nails it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know one friend in the UK who she studies it night and day. She just listens and listens and listens, trying to understand that genre of music. So I mean, of course, the problem with that genre of music is the Japanese lyricist gets 50%.
Right.
Mm.
So when the Japanese lyricist takes 50%, and then there's 3 writers on the song, and each of you gets 16% of the original song because the Japanese lyricist got 50%, it becomes frustrating. The money, and then the sub-publisher takes 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, you have to have so much volume
Mm-hmm.
to make money. And these people these writers, they do just churn the songs out. Because in Japan, of course, right, the song is #1 for 2 days. It sells 500,000 copies, and it disappears forever after.
Mm-hmm.
Except played live when the band plays live.
Yeah.
And the bands disappear because they're expendable too.
Yeah.
Super cute, but just disappear. So, but still, Laura's question, that is an option for making money. It really is an option. And the Japanese market, not to the public who are huge fans, but the Japanese market to the record companies and the publishers is only money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about art at all.
Mm-hmm.
They are money-making machines over there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think it's a really great thing if one can crack that code. For sure, and there's a lot of money to be made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They still buy physical CDs, Laura, so they're not streaming. They like, I asked one Japanese writer I write with, I asked him, like, why do you buy all these, like, there's like a DVD version and a CD version with bubble gum, and there's one with a poster, and there's like 10 versions of the same album, and the fans buy every version. Because the guy told me, I said, you live in these shoebox teeny apartments. Where'd you keep this stuff? And he said they do it to support the artist.
Wow.
So what a concept is that, right? They want to support the artist. Here, we don't want to support anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting thing. I unmuted you. I saw you were muted. So it's super, super different than here, right?
Yeah. Our cultural values definitely differ from the rest of the world. I mean, the rest of the world buys CDs, vinyls, have a connection to the artists and wanting to support them. And I've been trying to discuss this with so many people, like even just teachers, like why it is that we're disconnected to supporting the artists. I mean, I think we support sports. I think our culture is twisted towards athletes and movie stars, but yeah.
And
I wanted,
just Ben, just so you know, I'm trying to unmute you, but I can't. So I have to figure this out. So sorry. But go on, Angie, what were you saying?
no, is it Laura you were telling about patrons?
Yeah.
So it's actually, the site is called patreon.com. And if you go on, you can establish your own sort of page, just like you have for the micro funding kinds of places, Patreon, TREON.
That's awesome.
And a lot of like software music tech engineers who have YouTube channels use Patreon to even source out, like, you paying them for all their free tutorials. And then they have bands on the side. I think it's great. I've watched a whole bunch of those, tutorials, just thinking, I'll just support even $1 a month, because that's something towards their, free. I mean, they're really good at what they do, and I appreciate their expertise, And then the other thing is you could. Michelle was mentioning that her friend who cooks and does shows at home. You could even charge, I mean, people are always hungry for real musicians to perform, and like my neighbors' friends, I mean, they always want to hear you do your thing as a musician. So you could even charge for rehearsals. I mean, if you have a place that could fit a lot of people, of course, or.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, charging, like, you could charge $10 for a 2-3 hour rehearsal with your band as long as they don't mind. And
yeah, the friend of mine who does the 2-song a month club, she makes promotional videos of herself recording the songs, and
that's great.
I think it's great. It's so enterprising, just like there's a rehearsal of the house concert. So if you go to the house concert, it's $50, but if you go to rehearsal, it's $10, and right? It's it's all brilliant marketing, and
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, and it's very exclusive because people are, are very interested in they don't know, they just think what we do is, they either take it for granted, which is most people, or they're supremely, like they love the mystery of it. So to break them into it, literally they will leave crying during these moments because they're just so moved by what you do, and they don't know how it happens.
Right. Right. Oh, I think I unmuted you, Ben. Wow.
Yes, Michelle.
That was hard. Yeah, I agree with that. So Ashley, like Laura was asking, that's great, Angie. Thank you for that information.
Thank you.
Everybody should check that out. And, patreon.com. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because maybe they want to support songwriters too, not just artists. And, because it's actually, Angie, you're an artist and Laura's an artist, and that makes it easier actually for people like me and Deborah and Ben who are behind the scenes. It's more difficult for us, to even, we don't perform, we're not getting out there. It's difficult for us to get funding. So, another thought is to, of course, hook up with an artist that's your artist, and try to fund that way, or, because of course we're doing it the old school way, right? Me and Deborah pretty much, we're doing it the old school way. That's what because that's pretty much what I love. I like the old school way. I prefer writing a song, getting a cut, getting it placed, rather than all the other stuff. But it's a difficult route these days. Even in Nashville, it's very, very difficult to get stuff placed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, everything has changed, so we have to keep reinventing ourselves and be positive and hopeful. Like Mengting and Ruby, they're kind of in the new frontier because maybe their countries are going to start paying royalties and become more lucrative, and that's going to be so exciting. And exciting for all of us in the world, really.
Yeah. Can you hear me? This time when I went back to Beijing, I talked to a music company in Beijing, and 3 British guys. They started it 10 years ago, and they said they never collect any money from Chinese market, but now they are starting to collect some. And because last quarter, maybe they collected $7 for Adele's company, or whose company, I don't remember, but they started to collect $7. And they said even though the number is too small, it's the beginning to get paid. So
yeah, that's true.
So when the company saw their statement, they were very, very shocked because they never saw some money from China. Even $1 they never. But now I think things are going to change.
Yeah, that's
Yay! Yay!
Yay! I see you now, Ruby. Finally, I've been trying to get it. The system is difficult. So sorry, Ben is.
It's okay.
Yeah, there she is, pretty girl. Hi, Ruby.
Hi.
Did you have a question or anything, Ruby?
I have a general question, for international student who come here that doesn't have any experience. Do you have any suggestions, like the new songwriters to get into the door?
Oh, well, see, that's a really good question. They have to connect also with the songwriting organizations like the National Songwriters Association, NSAI it's called. They should join NARIS like Deborah did as an associate member. You don't have to be a voting member, and go to conferences, go to the ASCAP conference, try to mingle and network and make friends. I think that you can join BMI or ASCAP as an associate member too, or find out online about the events that are going on and try to connect with other writers to co-write. And if you're in school, they have a message board, I'm sure, where you can find co-writers, or in the classroom, because in the classroom where I met you and I met Mengting, there are many writers in those classrooms, and people can connect and co-write. Like even at my seminar, like Deborah was discussing before, people immediately networked and connected with each other and exchanged cards, and some of them wrote with each other, and some of them, people were open to the concept. So as long as the people are open, I think that, and especially your friends are young, and people want to write with young people because it's interesting and fun, and they bring something new to the table. So I think that's part of it, is it's all about networking. No matter what we do, it's about networking. It's about whether it's online or in person. And for the new artists, the same thing, right? YouTube and putting their music out there. And I think that if you're not aggressive and you just sit at home and go, oh, woe is me, nothing's happening for me, then nothing happens. But if you're actively pursuing, right? Because you need, what do you need? One connection. You find a writer and you love writing with them, and they have a friend and they bring them in, and you start writing with them and you start performing, and maybe like a little band, and you play an instrument, like Ting plays an instrument, and you get together, you create something. I really think it's organic like that. I don't think there's anybody else have an answer? I don't think there's any special secret to that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
so you know, today and tomorrow, the ASCAP Expo has a pre-registration where the price to attend will be the cheapest it will be from now on. So that's today and tomorrow if anybody wants to go to ASCAP, the ASCAP Expo, which is in April.
I didn't know that, so thanks, Deborah. That's great information. So maybe your friend wants to do that, Ruby, or maybe any of you want to. It's expensive, though. I don't know.
But it's cheaper today and tomorrow than it will be if you go later. But there may be, and I don't know, there may be a student rate. You may
I'm wondering, I would hope there's a student rate.
That's less.
Yeah.
Did you receive an email from the association Grammy Pro about the 2 weeks before the election, and there is an event for all the songwriters? And did you receive that email?
Yeah, I received several emails. Yeah, we are the member of the Grammy.
They want us to go to the local congress. I don't know. I mean to go to the.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's different, Meng Ting. So I'm doing that. I do it every year. That's different. That's where the song. That's not a party or an educational thing. That's where songwriters go to the congressman's office in their local area. Go to they sit around the conference table and they discuss things like the DOJ issue that we discussed before. They discuss those issues and lobby the congressman to help the songwriters make changes. So then the congressman goes to Washington, D.C., and sits down with the rest of his people and all the other senators and congressmen, and they discuss the issues that we're trying to change, and they fight for our rights. So that's what that is about, and it's really a wonderful experience, and I do recommend it, but it's definitely like not a mingling party place. It's very serious.
Yeah, I registered, but I don't know whether, but I registered for that.
Yeah, so it's very great, and I don't know, maybe I'll see you there, because if we're in the same district.
You're going?
Yeah,
okay.
I always go. And it's small, like the group is maybe 12 people in the sit around the table in the district.
I see.
And I think Westwood has a different congressman than my.
Oh, I see.
But you go and you discuss. It's wonderful.
Oh, I see.
Really wonderful. But it's different from what Deborah's talking about. The ASCAP Expo is this huge 3-day event where they have like panels all day long.
Is that for the songwriters? I mean, the creative side of
exactly. The producers for the songwriters to learn things. I personally find them overwhelming, and I personally find them they're not very helpful unless you follow up with the people that you meet, follow up with the people on the panels, really figure out how to apply what you learned to your life, to your real life, because that's what I find at those big events. That's why I started doing this, was because you go to those big events and there's 5 people on the panel and they all discuss how fabulous they are. And then you're still sitting there going, yeah, but how do I become fabulous? How do I do that, right? So I think that that's the key when you go to those events, is to pay attention and learn how to maneuver them so that you come away with being able to use that information and apply it to yourself, and also connect with the people you meet, you know, because most people just leave those things and they get overwhelmed with information and then they never use the stuff they learned. But what do you think, Deborah? That's what I think.
Yeah, I've gone to everyone. I just posted the link, by the way, in the chat for the news about free
That's
sale.
great. Thank
And
you.
so anybody can kind of go there and check it out. I've been to every one of them, and they've changed over the years. They're much more, in the very beginning, I mean, I was out of breath running from class to class to class to class to seminar to, it was nonstop. And there wasn't as much time for networking, which was fine because I wanted to learn, first and foremost at that time, 10 years ago. Now they build 45-minute breaks in between every seminar so people can go to the booths for the sponsors. And it's very commercial now. You know, I don't need to buy another microphone. I don't need, so there's things that don't really apply to me, but there's also songwriting organizations like the SCL, Society of Composers and Lyricists. They have a booth and
That's a good organization too. I like it very much. Yeah.
You know, Van Zugel, who, if you want to build a website, they have a booth. So there are things that are for whatever you are as a creator. There's those seminars and booths, and then there's just time to mingle with people in between. I tend to want to learn. I go there to learn, and I mean, I can see people at any time, but really that's because I'm kind of, even as talkative as I might be, I'm really shy at heart, and I don't go up to somebody and, you know, and give them my, I'm not like that.
That's unfortunate, because those people who are on those panels, they know that they're required to sit there and have people come up and talk to them. That's part of the commitment that they make. So they know that. And so you might want to go and say hello, or if you don't want to, because I understand what you're saying, afterwards, when you got home, I would email everybody. What?
Yeah. And after each panel, they're bombed. I just meant that there's the other people next to me. I mean, I do what I need to do, but most of the people.
But what I'm saying is when you get home, you should email them and you should thank them and tell them you learned something so much, be specific, and try to make a relationship with them. Because if not, the point is to gather information, of course, but if you can make, even if there are 50 people you write in the end of the day, 2 of them you make connection with, oh my God, that's fantastic. And the thing is, no one does it. No one does it. Like, every time I go speak at something, I'm not saying I'm so fabulous, but if I sit sometimes for an hour, 2 hours, people come up. One thing I did, people came up, like 400 people. In the end, 2 people contacted me ever again. And those 2 people actually I invited to LA to come write. So 2 young songwriters. Yeah, they were very tenacious and aggressive and talented, but the other 400, not one person. So even though it seems like a waste because you're saying, well, even afterwards 500 people are writing that music supervisor, they're not. They're actually not, because they're lazy or they don't think it's worthwhile. I don't know why, but they don't contact them.
I think, no, I meant that right after the panel's over,
no, I know what you mean. Right after the panel's
rush to the stage, and they're like, they may take your CD, they throw it away, and whatever. But yes, I actually have written to somebody at a conference and just said thank you. And they said, they thanked me for thanking them. They said nobody has ever thanked them.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's been to dozens and dozens of years of panels, and I'm like, really?
But that's what I'm talking about. So now thank everybody that panel you were at. Thank them all, because that's how you're going to make relationships. And that's what I'm trying to say, is it's poor networking to just go to that thing and not write any of those people and connect with them and thank them, because like you're saying, no one does. And isn't that going to give you the advantage? You were there, you heard what great stuff they had to say. Now you connected with them. Now maybe they're going to use your music, because isn't that the ultimate goal? Right? What are you gathering all this information for, if not to place it? And same with, like, what are we giving away music for exposure for, if not to get paid for it? It all becomes that. And people don't do it, just like you're saying. Just like that music supervisor told you, that person told you, they don't do it. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they don't know that they can do that. Maybe they, and like you're saying, like when people come and bring me CDs, I always tell them no, because send me an email, because I will lose that CD. It's bulky. Don't bring CDs. Nobody wants them. You know, I always tell people that. But to connect with them, and then write them is really wonderful. And if you even went and talked to them afterwards, you would be like one of two people who even followed up afterwards.
Right.
And they will remember you then because you followed. It's all about that. It really is all about that. Yeah.
I have to push myself to do that. And I have you in my head when I'm at these things saying, okay, be polite, ask. Like sometimes I'll write an email and I'll get right to the point and I'll go back and I'll say, hi, so-and-so, how are, and I'll put the niceties in just because you keep reminding me to do that. And that's my nature anyway, but sometimes you just want to ask the question because it's somebody you know well. And then even so, you can't take that for granted. You still have to be pleasant and ease into it. And definitely reminded me of that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that it's just key. It's just really key. Even if you think that even if they don't provide any back and they ask you they answer you in one sentence, you still need to be polite, thank them, be gracious with them, because that's how you're going to get work. That's it. It's just not going to happen the other way, because the other way, nobody might have written that. They wouldn't have even written you that one sentence. They would have just not even answered. But, you know, if you guilt them into, and you know, in a nice way, I mean, plus it's just nicer. It just spreads niceness. And plus, why would you contact someone you know nothing about and not say something about something you know?
No, I don't mean strangely. I just mean you, but somebody that I know and I'm in the middle of a conversation with, I still feel like, even though you're in the middle of that email conversation, I still want to, hi, so, you know, sometimes I'll just write the answer, and then I'm like, I have to even remember to say hello. Hi, Michelle. Hi, you know, and sometimes it's just, you're certainly deep in the middle of the conversation. If it was an actual conversation, you wouldn't keep introducing yourself, keep saying hello, you would just talk. But it's different when it's email or texting.
I think it's different. I think it's different. And you know, if you see how the conversation is going and it's a continuing conversation, then you don't have to add all the pleasantries. But when you sign off, you should again, you know, really thank them and be gracious and I just think it's the way. I think it's the way.
But so many people don't do that, and you're a really good reminder. Every seminar I see you at, you're a really good reminder of that. And so I think it will seep into people's brains as the more they see you and the more they hear that. And hopefully,
I hope they do it, because you know I just don't answer those emails anymore because I'm so sick of it all day long. You know how many, and if I get them, can you imagine what a music supervisor, an A&R person gets all day? I mean, it must be just astounding amounts of impolite mail, you know, just I'm this. So I do think that, you know, we have to pay attention to the notes that we write and be, oh, I don't know, it's a losing battle though.
I mean, even with the guy from the Grammy guy, he said, email me and I'll help you. And then I emailed him and then he was fine. I gave him all the information. It took me hours to, like, you know, find the CDs and scan them and give him all the information. And then he basically tosses it away and says, oh, well, when you submit for membership, and we'd already been in conversation that I've been a member for 10 years. So
he did the same thing for me. He did the same thing with me, exactly the same thing about a different issue, but the same thing. And he said, well, why don't you just join? And I'm like, I've been a member 25 years. I told you that right in the first paragraph. And yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So if he's the head guy, where do I go from there?
Well, you just go to somebody else.
All right.
Go to somebody else. I'll send you to a couple of people.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that you know, hopefully we'll be able to direct you better. I know him, and he was very unhelpful. I mean, literally, when I was done with him, I was going to resign my membership. Wow. He upset me. He was so irritating. Just, I can't even understand he has that job.
I don't like to keep their job. I mean,
I don't know how these people keep their jobs. There's a lot of people at NARAS, so I don't know how they keep their jobs. NARAS is like a good old boy place. It's like a country music A&R group. It's so closed, and there's such a velvet ropes and glass ceilings there. It's really, really difficult over there to participate or get anything done. So that's all I can say about it over there. Yeah. But anyway, that's all also I can say is if you're going to go to all those events and just suck up all this material, really try to connect with these people.
I do. It's, you know,
yeah, and I don't mean
what I feel they need, and I want to feel like I have something to give them or to provide a need for, you know,
well, you do. You do, Barbara. You do. You're so talented and you have great music, so you do. You know, I'd love to see you personally pitching for bigger stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even I don't that much anymore because I'm kind of bored with it. But to be honest with you, I think that you do a lot of contests and stuff, which is awesome. But I think you could put some more time into pitching to some bigger stuff. I think it's like we all have that fear of success. I think you could get some bigger placements if you did. I think your stuff is really
love to. I don't know that I have that many. I've spent the last couple of years working directly with artists for their albums, and so I don't have the control necessarily to be pitching those songs for. I do, you know, sure they're going to want to make money on their stuff too, but a lot of stuff hasn't been released yet, and so I can't do anything with the pretty much a lot of the stuff I've been writing the last couple of years, and the older stuff is outdated, and so I still pitch them, but.
I don't know, you know, you'd be surprised. Like I get some placements on, I had a big record with a huge band in Japan. The song was 12 years old.
Really?
Production, 12 years old.
Really? Yeah. Okay, well that's hopeful then.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I placed a song recently, actually CBS TV noted that they had a note, they even in their computer, amazing that I had placed it 20 years ago with them.
Really?
And I placed it again. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was shocked that they even had that in the database. I didn't think computers were that computerized.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you know? They told you?
Yeah, they told me. They said, "Oh, we see you placed this in so and so." It was 20 years ago.
Same exact track and everything. It wasn't updated.
The same track. Yeah, same track. Yeah. That was it was in Beauty and the Beast, and like 20 years ago, I forgot what it was.
Wow.
Wow.
And
I mean, you have a huge catalog. I have a lot. I have like a teeny tiny amount that I pitch as much as I can. You know, because in the early days I'd have to pay for my own demos, and now I'm dealing with artists who own their own songs, and so I'm still trying to find my way to various opportunities. Contests are easy to submit to because whether I own the song or not, I'm still a writer. I can still submit. So those are easy, and that's why.
This is my suggestion to you and to everyone is that before I write with anyone, I have a huge checklist, and especially with artists, the checklist is the songs can be placed, and I can pitch them because if not, I'm not going to write with you. Okay.
But do you get them to sign anything? Because a lot of times when I pitch to, let's say, something like Taxi, you have to get what's called the power of attorney from your co-writers to sign. I think that word even scares them to give somebody power of attorney.
But I'm not talking about something like Taxi because you know I don't even like Taxi. But I'm talking about pitching direct to pitching direct, you know, to a music supervisor. I make them sign off.
Oh, they physically sign an agreement?
Physically or either through an email, through some kind of agreement, on paper, in writing, that I can pitch the song nonstop, one stop, that, you know, the splits will be equal no matter what, no matter who wrote what word or what line. That, I mean, I have a whole checklist of stuff, and if they go no, then I go, I can't write with you. Because if they're going to tell me they're the artist and they're only holding the song for their record, I'm going to tell them, sorry. See, I wouldn't even work with them because now I have a dead song in my catalog, and I do have some, and it's so frustrating to not be able to pitch those songs because they're like dead, you know?
Well, do they just not release it yet as an artist, or they just don't want you to do anything with it, even though they've released it?
Exactly, both things. You know,
I can understand them wanting to hang on to it until they've officially released it, but I'm willing to respect that. But once it's released, I should be able to, you know, pitch that.
You should, but it doesn't work that way because again, even though we were talking about 100% licensing, even though 100% licensing is illegal, you're still going to have that person screaming down your throat, calling the music supervisor, ruining your relationship with them, telling them they didn't authorize it. You're going to have some whack co-writer who's going to do that unless you agree to this stuff up front. That's what's going to happen. It's happened for me, and it's ugly. I even had a situation talking about Cobalt again, where twice with some co-writers, I didn't even know they signed with Cobalt. Nobody told me. So they had, when I wrote with them, they didn't have any publishing deals. Then they had a publisher but in Sweden who was a really easygoing, nice guy. He signed a sub-publishing deal with Cobalt. I placed the songs in 2 TV shows. Cobalt went mad on me, screaming so loud you could hear them across the state. screaming at me for placing the songs for them making money. Now, did they make money? Yes, of course. I didn't take anybody's share. You know, they got their but screaming.
Well,
And that's what happened. And contacted the music supervisor. And who contacted me and said, you better deal with this. And do you know what I'm saying?
What was your issue? Why did they not want you to place the song?
Because they're control freaks.
Okay.
And that's why I don't write with anyone. That's the other thing. If anybody has a publishing deal, I don't write with them. Because something like Cobalt are the worst, by the way. They're the worst in terms of this. But all of them, Sony and Universal and everybody, they make it so difficult. The music supervisors don't want to deal with them. If you say, the first thing they ask me is, there's no major publishers involved, right?
Oh, really?
Yes, because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to have to, because then I'm licensing my share, but then they have to go to Universal. And 5 weeks later, when the guy at Universal finally gets to it on his desk, you know, the TV show's aired 4 weeks ago. And they don't want to deal with it, and then, or else they'll scream at you. They'll just be screaming at you, calling the music supervisor, make life hell. And it's horrible. And that can happen to you.
When you get paid, let's say you get paid the license fee, and they like the one-stop shopping, and they send you the $1,000 that you then have to share with your co-writers.
Yeah, of course. You gotta send them the money.
So they're all okay with you getting $1,000 and then you sending them their share?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm okay vice versa too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was at a songwriting workshop many years ago, and where they put three amateurs together with a pro, and then a few years later, I actually got interest in a song placement, but they wanted to do one stop, and the other guys were like, no problem, they signed the thing, and the pro, who's like 75, 80 years old, has said, from Nashville, said, oh, I want to administer my own. And mind you, all the royalties would be going to each individual person through their PROs. It's just the one-time license. For $250 would have been his share. I'm not going to screw the pro over for $250. So so we even said, can they cut 2 checks? You know, one for the 3 of us that I would distribute.
Oh, they'll never do that.
And they wouldn't do it. And I said, well, now I know not to pitch that song ever again.
Yeah, you can't pitch that song over again. Exactly. And I have other songs like that, and that's so heartbreaking. They're like dead. And it's so frustrating because you're going, oh my God, that song would be so perfect for this, and you can't do it. Yes, exactly. And that songwriter is old school and stupid. And someone should knock him in the head because.
But when it's not like I had a choice going into the co-write. It was a workshop where they put you with a pro, and I was early on in my writing, and I was exciting to write with the pro and learn from them. And so I wasn't thinking about placements at that time. It was later when I started getting into that I thought, wow, that really sucks. So yes, I have to, and he keeps saying, oh, I'd love to write with you again, but I can't do it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So, and that's my advice, you know, Laura, you know, my advice, Meng-Ting and Ruby, to your friends, Angie, everybody, you know, make sure you do. This stuff will come back to haunt you, and it's ugly. And once someone calls a music supervisor, they will never talk to you again. And they might tell their other music supervisor friends the story, who will never talk to you again and never work with you again. You will just get blacklisted from these kind of things. Because I had one co-writer once who hounded the music supervisor for the money. Because that's another issue. Of course, it can take a very long time to get paid. It's taken me over a year for some licensing fees. And this particular writer was desperate and needed money and went to the supervisor, and the music supervisor never worked with me again. Never.
That's too bad.
No, so now with this particular person, I never tell her about the placement until afterwards, and then I send her the money. But I can't even share in the fun of it and the joy of it with her because I don't trust her not to go and make a problem for the money, you know? So it's, yeah. So, you know, these are all good points and good issues, things that we have to all be really careful about because, and to know about, you know, to be very careful. We have to be upfront, you know, and also splits, you know, because I have some people who want to do some wax splits, and I'm like, nope, up front. I don't care if I wrote 2 words and you wrote the rest of it. Nope. Or vice versa. If I wrote everything and you wrote 2 words, too bad. I used those 2 words. They were part of the contribution, and everybody's in the room and everybody's writing, and that's it. You know, I've even had like one writer come and say he wanted his title back.
Oh.
Yeah, he wanted his title back, and he was going to write another song with the same title, and you know, blah blah blah. A big writer. And I was like, are you crazy? Are you that dried up? Is your well that dried up that you don't, you know, have enough idea? Well, I basically told him to go screw himself, and told him I would never talk to him again, and said, too bad, and told him off.
But I think the title is not protected by the copyright law, right?
No, it's not just the title. It's the hook line in the song. It's the title.
Oh, I see.
It's not protected by copyright, but he was just saying, he wasn't disputing that. He's going to take that title and he's going to write another song with the same hook line. And I was like, well, whatever, then you'll have 2 songs with the same hook. And
yeah.
how weird is that?
Yeah.
And is that the only thing you're going to come up with the rest of your life? But it was so funny because I broke my rule, and my rule is not to use people's lines, like a whole line, like something like that. I only write from complete scratch in the same room at the same time with people, and we decide during then what we're going to talk about, and we decide what, you know, where the title will be. And I'm usually so strict about it, but this time it was like 1 line, and it was a cool line. There were 3 of us. The artist liked it. And so, okay, and in that instant, there it happened again. Like, I've had people want to take their lyrics back, their melodies back, their chord structure back, I mean, it's just endless. So this way we all start from scratch and nobody can take anything. It's all our baby. But even in that situation, I did that too, and somebody went and rewrote something and got an artist to redo the song. I mean, it's amazing what people will do. Really, you know, you can't even protect yourself against all this stuff, but you just keep learning and moving forward and laughing. But at least those things about the pitching we can control up front and make sure that we have those I's dotted and those T's crossed, that we can pitch those songs no matter what, that they can't prevent it. Because if not, you just keep ending up with dead songs. And what's the point of spending the time and the money on a song you can't pitch? Especially in this climate, you know, where it's harder. And especially in this climate where even if you get a song cut by Kelly Clarkson, it might be super prestigious, but you'll make more money licensing a song to a TV show.
I was just in a situation where a guy who's in a rather prominent band has another band. And so he had been working on an album for this other band, and I guess there were some songs that needed rewriting, and when he met me at a workshop and somebody said I was good, so he asked me to rewrite a lyric, and that turned into a number of songs, which were great because he's a really good guy. But I kind of got the feeling, you know, because I was a little intimidated, so I didn't push the business stuff up front, you know, because I was like, wow, I was very honored that this person would ask me to write, and that it turned into as many songs as it did. And recently, so I submitted the song they haven't been released yet, and I submitted one of the songs for something, and I, you know, was nominated for this award, and I ran into him recently. I gave him the certificate. I was all excited that it was nominated, and he says, well, what about so-and-so? And I'm like, you know, and he had only just recently told me that this other guy was also a writer on the original version of the song, that I completely rewrote the lyric. And I said, well, I did, and so I had mentioned at the time, by the way, I've been submitting this song to some things, and he said, well, don't worry, if anything happens with it, we'll just add the name, you know, which I always had to do anyway. Even when I put everybody's name on, inevitably the contest stuff comes up and there's just me, and I have to contact them. And it's always fine, you know, but they just get lazy and they don't write everybody's name. So I said, no worries, it'll get fixed. But so I wrote him the next day and I said, can you tell me on all our songs who all the writers are? I've been submitting this to a lot of things, and I'm going to have to go back and fix it, no problem. But from now on, I want to have everybody's name on to begin with. And he did tell me, but it was weird. It was almost like he was kind of not really hiding it early on, but not telling me as little as he needed to tell me.
Well, you know, that's why I also only write from scratch in the same room at the same time. I know who's there, but I will. But
it was a good way to get to know a new person who has some prominence in the industry. You have to start with something.
Right, but in the past, I did exactly that, and that happened to me. and I had a huge hit song. My first hit song that happened with, they had apparently my co-writers, they had a track and they had a hook, and they brought it to me thinking there's two of them and me, right? And I wrote the melody and I wrote the lyric and used these little bit 2 lines that were in the chorus. The fourth writer, exactly the same thing happened. It turned out there was a girl who wrote those 2 lines, another girl. I'm like, are you kidding? You know, why didn't you just say that? So we know that in the beginning, because then I was signed to a publishing company and it was such a mess and they had to change it. And of course in the copyright and blah, blah, blah. And exactly the same thing happened, and the song was a big hit, and I didn't even know. I didn't know there was this other writer. I've never even, I've never met her. Still, this was 1990, I've still never met her.
Really?
Never met her.
What's interesting was that he had mentioned this guy to me, just a name, and I said, you know, this guy's going to be at the Grammy Museum, when I always go to all those events all the time. And so I went to the Grammy Museum and I introduced myself to the guy. I said, because I knew on 2 of the songs he was a co-writer, but not on this 3rd one. And so I said, oh, we've you don't know me, but we've co-written some songs together. And I thought it would be good that I introduced myself to him. And he goes, oh, which ones? And I mentioned the first title, and he goes, oh, you wrote that song? He didn't know that the songs were being rewritten. And that's even more of a problem to me that I didn't know, is that I don't think the songwriter told the other people, the original writers in the song, that he was having the lyrics completely rewritten.
That happened to me too. So wasn't he pissed? Because when it happened to me, I was pissed. I never worked with those writers again.
No, his parents happened to be there. He was on the panel at the Grammy Museum, and he's like, oh, you know, he's like, well, he said, you know, I know that this other guy's a good writer, but I thought these were really great lyrics. I said, well, I wrote them. And wait, and then he says, did he write any of them? And I said, no, I wrote the whole thing. And he goes, were you a ghostwriter? I said, no, I wrote the whole song. I better not be a ghostwriter.
And this wasn't a song that already existed and you didn't know it.
It was a song that, yes, that it already existed. This was the first one we'd written together. So he only sent me the track, and he plunked out the melody on the piano, and he didn't send me the original song. Right. On the later ones, he sent me the original for me to rewrite, and I saw the guy's name in the metadata. So I knew there was another writer. But in that very first one, I just thought it was him.
Yeah, that happened to me, but the other way. I was the one songs they rewrote. I was the one X'd out. Yes. So they brought in, and an artist came to me with some songs, wanted to write with me, and played me some of her songs. And when she played me a song, I'm like, wow, that sounds so familiar. That sounds so familiar. And I had to go into my database and look it through down my titles, singing songs to myself in my head. And then finally went, oh, that one. And my 2 co-writers rewrote the song with this artist. And she said, you know what? It's really funny because look here, your name is on it.
Oh, okay.
It's similar. They gave me credit, but they didn't tell me they did it. And she didn't know. And here she's playing my own song that I produced the track. Because me and one of the writers produced the track. One of the writers didn't produce the track. And I called them and told them off and never talked to them again. And one of them is beyond famous, like 80 years old. Also, like one of the old-time famous ones. And I just told him off. I would never talk to them again because that's disgusting. I mean, that's happened to me similar things before, but with younger writers. But that's awful. I mean, if you write a song with somebody, you have to be honest with them. If you want to rewrite something, you have to get their opinion. You can't just be doing stuff like that. It's unacceptable. You can't test people.
I'm concerned that he didn't tell. More than that, I didn't know, because I dig deep and I have an idea of what was going on. But I'm concerned that he didn't tell the original writers that the lyric was being rewritten. He just kept saying, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. And then when I showed him the award, the nomination, he goes, well, what about so-and-so? And I'm like, I just found out about him, so I'm going to add his name in. And I contacted the awards, and they added his name in the next day. It was no problem. And I sent them both the amended nomination certificate, and neither of them wrote back and said, thank you, hey, got it, great. Nothing.
Well, there you go. Nobody says thank you. So that's part of what I preach too, right? Nobody says thank you. Say thank you for God's sake, people, you know.
Or thanks, or got it, whatever. I don't even know if they got it.
My new writing partner never says thank you. I've worked with him 35 years and never says thank you. It makes me crazy. I think he's thanked me once in about the whole time.
Wow.
It's just like, he'll write cool, great, yeah, but like.
Okay, I'll take cool, something, but they literally did not respond.
Yeah, that's not right. I mean,
I
you know,
know.
that's so.
But you know, I still have to act like the subordinate, you know, was that right, the right word, the subordinate? Like I'm the.
I don't agree with that, Deborah. I don't think you have to do that at all. I don't agree.
Well, the more I get to know them and the better I do with them, the more I will feel like I've got my legs under me and can, you know, but, you know, this guy does have a level of fame and a lot of success. He plays to 10,000 people a night. So, you know, I am kind of nobody compared to him, but that's okay. As long as I fulfill a need for him, I'm content right now with that. And then the more he sees I accomplish for him, the more value I'll be to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I so understand. I so understand. So, well, we have to be better, don't we?
Yeah. But it's interesting to know that you've been through all this because, you know, we all see, you know, Michelle, the successful songwriter, not realizing you've been through every single one of these situations.
Every one of them. But every one of them. Yeah, every one of them. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's just, I'm sorry, I'm just writing someone. That's the way, that's just the way it is, you know? We are all going to go through the same stuff. And that's how we learn stuff. I mean, you know, my big pop stars hit, the third writer didn't write anything, nothing. He wrote nothing, not a word, not a note, not a chord, nothing. And he was in the room because we all came to write together, and he was in the room and he hated what we were doing, and he sat in a corner like 40 yards away, noodling on an acoustic guitar. And then when that session left, he left, and then we just wrote the melody that day, and then I wrote the lyric, and then came back, and he hated the lyric, and he didn't want anything, we didn't like it, and he got obsessed, and then two of us finished the song, and then after that, the song became a huge hit. And then, of course, he wanted his share.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. So, and then it was a huge fight where we said, hey, we'll give you a third of the money, but take your name off the song because you didn't write it. And he said, nope. And we said, well, what are you going to do when someone asks you what you wrote on the song? He said, I'm going to lie. I have a daughter. She needs to get fed. And, and then they were interviewing the two of us a lot about the song. And he would get pissed and want to be interviewed as well. And he didn't write anything. And if that were me, I would have said, you know, I didn't write the song. I just can't take any credit. I personally would not do that. But he did in the biggest way take all the credit. And what I learned from that was if that ever happens again, because it's never happened before, and it's actually never happened since, to say something. Because we had a discussion and said to, you know, each other, you know, you didn't really work on the song, and you don't really you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should have discussed that immediately, but since we didn't, that's the way.
But even when you discuss something up front, I mean, like I told you during the July session, I was going through something where this manager contacted the producer that I wrote with and was sort of, I guess, renting songs that this guy had a catalog of from his writers that nothing happened with the songs. And even though my songs were not in that catalog, the guy heard the song, he knew the producer was part of it. So they asked me for 2 songs if they could have the artist record the song. Then they would ask 5 to 10%. And I'm like, I didn't want to do that, but because I had co-writers and I didn't want to lose the cut for them, I agreed. And here we are 9 months later. They flew to Nashville from Ireland. They recorded everything, you know, so they spent a lot of money. They recorded the songs and then they, because they were so happy with how they came out, they said, we want 25% minimum. And if there's only one writer in the song, we want 50%. And I was like, no, you already made the deal. I begrudgingly said between 5 and 10%. I'll even give you the high end of that, 10%. That's kind of me, considering she did not write a thing on the song. And I said, what is she going to go in interviews and claim she wrote the song? You know, and I guess, yeah, she would. And I said, no, you can't. I said, I'm happy to stick to the original agreement, even though if I had to make that deal today, I would not. So
yeah,
she's,
I remember you talked to me about this before,
Yeah.
and I hope you learned from that. Don't do that.
I did. And the guy kept emailing me the nastiest emails, and I would not relent. I said, I'm happy to stick with the original deal. We made a deal. And, you know, he says, well, I'm just going to shelve the song and you won't make money either. Or we're just going to give it away as a promo. Okay. He's the one who spent money on it. I already have another artist cutting it
I
off.
can't do that. I'll have somebody else record it, you know.
Yeah.
I
And I already had another artist recording the song.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him, but, you know.
Yeah, see, so forget it. I mean, I don't agree to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ever. You know,
Yeah, that lesson was learned.
I've held up records before because, like, I worked with a track years ago when I wrote the tracks. I wrote to a track, and another situation where it turns out there were two people, right? And they wanted 50% for two of them, and I was like, no. Like each one, no, thirds. They wanted thirds. They wanted to do 33, 33, 33. And I was like, no. I didn't even know this person existed. I don't know why it took two of you to make a track, that one person could make a track. And sorry, and I refused. So then the song came out on a big artist on Universal, and they were pissed. And I held the whole money for the whole record up. Because I was like, nope, I'm not agreeing to the splits. And you know, when you do that, no one gets paid. So I don't know if you all know that, but if there's a dispute on the 10-song album, let's say, and your one song is splits are in dispute, none of the other 9 songs get paid until those splits get resolved. I held up everything. I was like, I will die with you not getting paid because I will not agree to that. And in the end, they were desperate for money, and they backed down. You know,
Wow.
Yeah. It's really not a fair rule, though. They should only hold up the one song. They shouldn't hold up everybody getting paid. It's so unfair, but that's what happens. Nobody gets paid until the dispute is resolved.
Well, you know, I was happy to be part of this guy's, you know, project, and that's okay. I mean, I could always do things differently in the future, but now I would know to ask right up front, you know, who the writers on the song and how many, and just so I know. I'm okay with anything, just as long as I know what the situation is going into it. But I asked him early on something about how many of the writers or something are on the songs, and is it okay for me to rewrite the songs or something like that? And he wrote back and said, just so you know, not that you asked him, you'll always get 100% of the lyric on the songs you write. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're agreeing to that, but the other people who don't know the song's being rewritten are not going to want to take their 50% share and suddenly take it down a notch to 25%. So at the very least, I'm okay with equal splits, but I think the writers who don't know that I rewrote the song, that their song is rewritten, is not going to be happy giving me 50% of the song.
I would be infuriated. I would never talk to those people again. I wouldn't allow it to be done. Oh, no. I would be infuriated if that happened to me. And if
I didn't answer that.
If I were you, I wouldn't participate until I knew that everything was on the up and up. Because it's just disrespectful to the other writers.
Of course I wouldn't, yeah. And I totally expect it to be equal, but, you know, I may end up getting the short end of the stick because if the guy won't give up his 50%, then the third writer who didn't know about me, then that
leaves. He might not. It's like samples. He might
What?
not. It's like a sample. It's the same kind of principle that it's like if you don't clear a sample before you use it, the original writers have the right to 100% of your song. So let's say you sample two Stairway to Heaven, and you didn't get it approved beforehand and work out a deal, then Led Zeppelin, whoever wrote that song, will own your song, unless you take the sample out. And if the sample is integral in the song, then you're screwed, because you know you can either take the sample out, or they're going to take 100% of the writers and publishers. They don't have to give you a piece of it if you don't clear it first.
Yeah, I don't do samples, but I am concerned that on 2 of the songs that I rewrote, one of the guys was his band member that started the band with him, is now no longer in the band. And I said, where is he? You know, and when he gave me the list of people on the songs, I said, well, he said, this guy wrote these 2 songs. And I said, oh, is he in the band? Playing dumb, because I know he's not in the band anymore, but I don't know why. So.
Well, you know, again, I would, that's why I write in the same room at the same time. And if somebody, if I found out that was done to me, even unintentionally, I too would not give you a share, and I would not be interested, and I would be infuriated. I would be totally infuriated.
Well, these songs are not on the album, but he might use them as bonus tracks or something, you know.
I know, but that's all I'm saying is from my perspective,
Yeah.
if it happened to me, I would.
I learned, because everything was done via email, I learned all this slowly as I was kind of questioning things. Now that I know, and now that I know him well, and he doesn't mean anything by it. I think he's just an artist and he just doesn't know the business end of things. I really do. Now that I know that, I will handle things differently if there's anything new being written in the future. And hopefully now that I know him, I could just give him a lyric, let's say, and I could be part of it from the beginning. In this case, his album was coming out and the lyrics weren't good, and he wanted me to, fix it.
Does things happen to you, Ben? Is Ben there?
Ben's
Yeah,
still
I'm here,
there.
Michelle.
Yeah, you know, if you have to go, Ben, I still understand. But do those things happen to you when you write?
No, I'm pretty close to pretty much everything. I haven't had anything drastic happen yet, keep pretty close tabs on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's good. See, so Deborah, that's the lesson to be learned. Keep closer tabs on these things. Be really specific. Ask questions. If there's something existing that you're asked to write for, ask those questions. And ask them on paper so that they write them down, in an email or somewhere where you can keep rec. Sorry about that. Shut up. Oh my God, stop! Oh, now it's happening. Yeah, I would keep a record of it definitely so that, you have this all taken care of, Deborah, because I think this has happened to you too many times, in too many different ways, and you need to pay closer attention.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just get involved with people whose projects are already in the works, and
that's what I'm saying. If you get involved with somebody whose project is already in the works, it's a really good lesson for all of us. Freebie maintain, tell your peeps, if you get involved with something that's already started, have a checklist of things, questions you're going to ask gathered from all these things that have happened to you. Is there another writer? Who owns it? Who did the track? Everything. You want to know what is involved before you get involved, because if not, one day it's really going to backfire on you badly. Especially, when a song isn't a hit, nobody cares, kind of. But, then all of a sudden you have a hit, which is like a freak of nature, right? How would you think that would happen? None of us, I think, would think something could be a hit. Every time for me, it's been like, really? Wow. You don't know that when you write the song, you're just writing a song. You like it, you don't like it. It's like, next song, on to the next song. And then all of a sudden something happens and the evil demons come out of the woodwork, like with my song. And all these things need to be taken care of up front. You really, because if you're doing this a lot, like it seems like you are, then you really should have a checklist. You should be able to send to them that you can make sure these things don't happen to you. Do you know?
Yeah, and they're good guys. I don't.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with them. It has to do
happening.
with you. It has nothing to do with them or anybody. It has to do with you and you handling your business and you taking care of your business properly. That's all it has to do with. And it's fine if they're nice guys and they don't mean. Look, writers, musicians, we are flaky people.
Yeah.
By nature. Yes, we're not taking care of business. We're not paying attention. We're not reading our statements. We're not getting paid. We're doing this to ourselves. So in order to properly better take care of our situations, you need, especially because you're delving into so many of these pies, which is fine, you need to ask these questions because they might even forget. They might go, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. There was this other writer who did this. Or, oh, wow, I didn't really think to tell you that there was this producer who has a piece of the track. And, oh, wow. They're just excited maybe to get the song done and excited to meet you. And they're not paying attention. That's all I can tell you. Because
I agree. I don't think there's
one of these things is going to be a hit for you one day, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. Someone's going to come out of the woodwork, and it's just going to be ugly. So you want to prevent that.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have even known. You're going to go just like you're saying now. Oh my God, I had no idea. So you should make yourself. I can
Well,
help
I
you.
went to the Grammy Museum and I shook the guy's hand and I introduced him to him and myself to him and I, you know, so that not only do we have that
And he had
in-person
no idea.
name, but you know that we can be on the up and up from this point forward. And actually, the guy, I told the guy, I said I took a picture with him and I sent it to the artist, and he goes, "Oh, that's great! I'm so happy you met him." But I took the initiative to go down there to meet him and talk to him. There were hundreds of people coming after him after the show. He was on the panel, and I made sure before he left, I got in there and introduced myself to him.
But that's good. But he was nicer than he had to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would think he would be pissed at the other guy, not me.
I'd be pissed at the other people. Like I was in my situation when some songwriter comes up and says, "Oh, look at my new song." Huh? I wrote that. You know, I mean, just.
The other guy sent him the song, said it's made the album, and never told him there was somebody else that completely rewrote the 100% of the lyric. I mean, and they're good friends, and they've written tons of songs together, and he never. So the guy thought he wrote it. That's not right.
No, it's just what I'm saying. But obviously, it happens more than we think, and so we have to be really, really careful. You know, that's all I can say. It's happened to me too. I eliminate those people. Those people are going to do that again. Those are not good people, and they're going to keep that. Yeah. But even if they're good people and they're stupid, it's up to you now to not let this happen. Because again, if nothing, you know, when things aren't hits, people are a little mellow. But if all of a sudden the song becomes a hit, that artist might not be as nice as you see him taking that picture at the Grammy Museum.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. That artist might come in.
He doesn't know that the guy said you can have 50% of the song, and the guy might not even remember it. But
that's why you need to put these things in writing. I have everything in writing, and everything I don't have in writing, things have come back to bite me. Things have really.
Well, I'm gonna follow up with him.
Come back and done bad things. So it's really a lesson for us all. You know, we have to pay attention and keep our business straight. And and it's interesting. You're delving in a lot of this, which like Ben was saying, and I don't, and Ben doesn't. And in the past when I have, it has come back to bite me. Every time there's been a success, something like this has happened that I didn't know about or wasn't privy to, and it's come back to bite me. So that's what happens. Anytime there's success on something and you don't have all those I's dotted and T's crossed, that's what happens. People come out of the woodwork, you know. Even if I were you personally, I would go through your catalog and I would contact those people where you've had situations where you came in on something that was started, and I would be honest and I go, look, I just had a situation, so I'm clearing up my catalog, cleaning it up here, and I'm making sure that all the writers are here. I know who produced the tracks. Everything is organized. That's what I would do if I were you.
This is the only situation that's happened in. This was a new situation. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then now you know not to do that again. Make sure you ask all these questions up front. I mean, really, to get into my studio to write with me, I'm like a Nazi. I mean, the checklist is endless of the questions I'm going to ask you before you come in here to write. You know, and if there's
I admit I didn't want to ask the questions early on because I was very happy to be on a co-write with this guy.
Yeah, and I
because I kind of played it cool and didn't rock the boat, and I just did the work. I ended up with 6 co-writes.
Yeah, because he has people. You could ask his people. I mean, if you're writing from scratch, it's just simple. It's
different. Yeah, it's different.
Less questions, but the questions still exist. Equal splits. You should really talk about that up front. Question still exists. Who can pitch it? Question still exists. Who's producing it? Who owns the master? I mean, these are questions that one needs to discuss up front.
Well, he owns the master because I didn't pay a dime for it. So I know I don't need the master.
You need to have that listed, you know, because let's say you're a good person, but there's 3 of you. And the one person produced it and he's going to own the master. But then there's that 3rd writer. Now he decides he doesn't know that when something happens with the song, and he gives you hell, or he calls a music supervisor. Oh no, I own the master too. You never know it's going to happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't pitch for film TV. I may, after it's released, I might say, is it okay to pitch to other artists? You know, because although it doesn't matter because they have the right.
I'm not talking about this situation. I'm talking about these situation in general, that you're allowing these loopholes. You really need to not do that. You really need to make sure you're not afraid to ask these questions, because it's only helping all of you, that you all understand what your roles are, who owns what the splits are going to be up front. Because again, you know, somebody could come out of the woodwork and go, hey, I wrote 90% of that, and they only wrote 10% of that. And, you know, you didn't have this discussion up front, and, you know, this is not going to be pretty in any situation.
Yeah.
You really, I mean, I've had people come to me with horror stories, writing with famous artists too, where the famous artist didn't give them any credit, or the famous artist gave them 5%, registered it with BMI or ASCAP or CSAC and gave them like 5%. And you know, there's another problem, because when you register something at those PROs, you know, the first registration is God.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And so if you write a song with Ben and Ben decides I wrote 65% of it, and he goes and registers it and gives you 35%, and now you try to change that over at ASCAP, good luck. Good luck with that. That can take years. That is not easy. The person who registers the song first kind of becomes the God on it. And it's really ugly, and it's really hard.
What happens when you're both in a different PRO? Like I write with Ben, and I'm in ASCAP, he's in BMI, and I submit it as 50-50, and he submits it at 70-30. And
you might down the road have a problem.
How do we know?
And they might even check to see, because they might check to see if he registered it first at BMI. ASCAP might side with BMI because he had the first registration.
Do I need to make sure that this artist registers all the songs, whether we release them or not, whether he releases them or not?
So that's a good question too, because to be honest with you, I'm a little lazy, and sometimes I forget to register the songs that haven't been used or placed, the new ones. But yes, if I were to give the proper advice, I would go register them the minute they're written. Yeah.
Even the artist, shouldn't I give him that?
No, you should go to ASCAP and register your song. And hopefully you discuss the splits already. And you know, I know you're an honest person, but hopefully you discuss them. And if there's two of you, I'd register them 50-50. And if he's going to go scream and moan about that someday, then let him go fight ASCAP. But that's why you want to discuss these things up front.
Well, there's three of us on. Well, I assumed he had the same way the other guy assumed it was only him. I assumed it was only him on that song. Because he didn't tell us there were other writers.
Yeah, but that's why, again, in the future, you have got to take care of these things. You've just got to take care of these things. You're not doing good business. And
I don't feel comfortable.
You're so smart, and I mean, you were a producer on a TV show, and you're.
I know, I'm smart. I know. It's just that I don't want to rock the boat or do anything to piss them off.
You're not rocking the boat. You're just saying, you know, you could, again, use it in the guise of, hey, you know, I had some problems before, and so I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, you know, just so that everything is, you know, all good.
So when he promised me 50% of the song, he really couldn't do that because the other person didn't know I existed.
Right. So, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't know, again, if the other person's going to come out and not let you have a piece of it at all. And these are all just.
Well, let's say that does happen. Okay. And I wrote 100% of a lyric to his melody. And the third guy says, oh, I like our song originally. I don't want the new lyric. Can I take my lyric and put other music to it?
Well, then that's a great question. Yes, you can if you make an arrangement up front about that, if they agree to that. I mean, that's certainly happened to me where I've written a melody and a lyric to a track. I had a #1 song, actually. I wrote the melody and the lyric to someone's track, and they didn't like it. And they didn't use it. And I said, well, I'm taking my melody and my lyric back. And they said, well, that's fine because we hate it. And I said, great. And then I had a #1 song. So with that melody and that lyric. So yes, but had they said no, had they said, no, we don't want it, but we're not letting you do that. You wrote it to our track. And so too bad. then I could have either put a new track under it and split it in thirds, right? Or just let it go and never work with it again. But if they weren't going to give it back to me, but if you have a discussion again up front and go, I'm going to write this lyric to your melody, and if you don't like it and choose not to use it, let's just discuss up front that I can keep it. Then that's great. Now you have that in writing up front. Now the lyric is yours when they choose not to use it. But that's why you have to do these things up front. You're not doing yourself a good service by not taking care of these things. And you can't be afraid of taking care of these things. This is business and this is correct. Because you might really love that lyric and now they're just going to keep your lyric. That sucks. You know? So anytime that I've ever written to somebody's pre-existing things when I used to, I'm like, okay, great. But if this doesn't work out, this is my lyric. You know? So, that's you have to do it, Deborah. You just have to start. Make yourself a little agreement thing that you have, or make yourself a checklist of questions that you're going to ask, or just do it. There's this company that it's called COSYD, like cosine, COSYD, and they have a standard form that they're trying to get writers to use. You might want to look at it and see what you think. I think it's a little severe, actually. I wrote them saying I think it's a little too strict, but it is a good thing that it exists. You know, or ask a friend at one of the publishing companies to give you the paperwork that the writers sign.
How could there not be a standardized form by now for writer splits?
There isn't. Every publishing company has a different one, and some just have a piece of paper that lists the names and the splits, and some have a big legal document, and some have, they're all different. I mean, I do it by email. I just document it in writing on an email. But document it somewhere. Deal with it somewhere. Just deal with it, because you have so many situations of these types of things. And really, you're going to have a hit one day, and it's going to come back and backfire on you with one of these songs. It's not going to be pretty. And if I were the writer that you rewrote my lyric and the song was a hit, guaranteed, I'm going to come after you all. Guaranteed. And you can all sit there and tell me, oh, we didn't know, I didn't this. Guaranteed. That's not going to be pretty for you, you know? And I'm a nice person, but if somebody does that, I think it's so disrespectful and so disgusting and so wrong and hurtful too. It's hurtful that I would definitely, you know, take care of you.
Well, I have a lot of questions now, especially on these, with this guy that I know and that I've met, you know, now that we've met, it's cool. But those two songs, the other two songs where he said, when he gave me the list that involved the guy that used to be in the band, I don't know if the guy just is off doing something else or if there was some kind of falling out. They've been friends for 25 years, so I would think things are okay and the guy's just doing his own thing and he's not in the band anymore. But I did say, is Nate in the band? And he didn't respond, but that's okay because he doesn't respond to a lot of my emails. He's on the road all the time. But what concerns me is that those two songs were released a year ago on a vinyl, and they toured with it, and they had all kinds of interviews and stuff where they said they wrote the song and what it's about, and it was in Billboard and all that. And he had me rewrite these two songs. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I just took the songs and did what he asked. And now I'm finding this stuff out because I Googled and stuff and looked it up. And I'm concerned that on those two songs that have already been released, so what happens when he starts touring with this project? Is he gonna? They didn't make the album, by the way, but when he sings those songs that he was touring with last year, he's probably going to sing the original lyrics. And then what happens to my songs? I don't know that he knows the answer to this
Why do you
thing.
think he's going to sing the original lyrics?
Because that's what people already know. Because they were released to, you know, I can ask him, hey,
Well, then why were you rewriting songs that had already been released?
I don't think I knew at the time that they'd already been released. It was on, and he never officially told me. I just Googled it one day and it's like, oh, I read it in some article and I saw they were touring and they were talking about the new single, and I'm like, because the album hadn't been ready yet, so they decided to release a 45 with two songs on it. And I'm willing to bet that guy didn't know that those lyrics were rewritten. Maybe he did, I have to really ask him.
Well,
And
then again, there's another situation, yet another. You have a lot of these.
this is all the same guy. It's all the same guy.
No, this is not good.
Yeah.
Not good. And
So
all I can say is call the guy up or write him an email and just say, hey, I see you didn't use the lyrics I wrote. So I wouldn't ask him the question. I would say document.
He recorded my song. He recorded them. I just don't know if when he sings them live, which one he's going to sing.
Well, then ask him. Just ask him, how you doing? Hope you're doing great. I love those songs. You know, I love the way you sang them. And I'm just wondering, when you sing them live, do you sing those lyrics?
He's about to start singing live. He's about to do some shows coming up at the end of the month. I guess I'll find out when I go to a show.
I guess. I think you're just being too evasive, Deborah. I mean, I would ask him, and I would go, if he says no, I would go, great. Then I would just love to have those lyrics back, since you're not using them. I really like them, and they're kind of just doing no purpose for anybody. Or maybe we can write a new song to those lyrics, or, you know, and yeah.
He recorded them and had them mastered and everything. So I'm hoping, and he's planning on doing stuff with them, releasing them as, you know, promos.
Why don't you just ask him? You're so frustrating to me, because you're just letting all this stuff happen all around you, and you're not dealing with your business at all, and you're just letting things happen, and it's just, you're such a smart, talented person. It's just not good. You have to take
I was just, with this particular guy, I was just intimidated.
Ask his manager.
No, I mean, my relationship is with him. I don't know who his manager is. But if he says, you know, talk to my manager about it, I'm happy to, because then at least I'm talking to somebody on a business level.
Right, and say, should I talk to your manager about it, or should, you know, I mean, what purpose does it help you if it's not on the up and up? Well, it doesn't serve you any purpose. I mean, if you're not using the songs live and he's not releasing them, then you really can't use it so much for a credit. And what's the point then? You're not making any money. You lost your lyric, and all you did was get taken advantage of, really, in my little opinion. I mean, I wouldn't do that. So let it be a learning experience and move forward, and don't let it happen again. And if I were you, I'd ask him, or at least, like you're saying, all right, I'm going to go to the gig and hear what he sings. And now if you hear that he doesn't sing the songs that you're dealing, then you need to see, and I hope you will, because I have a feeling you won't, and I hope.
Oh, I will. I'm on the verge. That's why I'm asking all these questions, because
you could be polite. You don't have to be mad or angry. You just say, hey, that's so cool that you're still doing the songs, and I guess you love the old lyric better, and that's great. And what can I do with this lyric? Or just say, I'm taking the lyric, or make a statement. I'm taking the lyric. I want to make a new song with it. I really like it, and you know, don't want it to be dead in the water. And maybe he's going to write you back and say, I'm so sorry, I so understand. It's so possible he could write you that back, you know?
No, I think he planned to do the song. He does. He recorded them. He had them mastered. He paid a fortune.
Maybe some kind of political thing happened on his end with the other one, and he ended up, you know.
Yeah, I mean, now that the songs are done, or most of them are done, there's one that I'm still rewriting, you know. But I did start with the question, what happened? Where is this guy? And didn't hear back. So
then I would rewrite it. See, but then it's your fault. Now you're working on something and you have no idea what happened. That's just crazy. You should take care of this first. Just say, hey.
This is just like 2 days ago. So I'm, you know.
So it's brand new. So now you want to make sure, say, hey, I didn't hear back. I'm going to get started on this, but I just want to make sure I have all the details first. And just tell him again, make up a story. I had this really bad thing happen, and now I really have to make sure I understand who all the writers and the publishers are, you know, and just know who's involved. And I'm waiting to hear back before I, you know, start working on this stuff. Super important. Can't be afraid of them. They're your peers. If they're asking you to work with you, then they respect you and think you're talented.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we have a great relationship. I just have to, I'm trying to figure out how to approach all of these very, you know, touchy business things that is really kind of more on his end for him to answer to, then, you know, and I have asked him along the way, is it okay that I rewrite this? Like, you know, do these people know? I mean, what? But on some of them, I didn't know that there were third writers, and he's like, yeah, it's all cool, it's cool, it's cool. So I have brought it up. I just haven't pushed him over the edge or anything, because
he might be saying it's cool, and that third writer is going to go and say, I didn't know anything about this. This is not cool. Because if it were me, I would come out and I would be like, I didn't know anything about it, and it's not cool to me, and I'm not allowing it to happen.
Now, let me ask you, what about a derivative? If the songs already existed, a song already existed, somebody else rewrites the lyrics, and they register that as a derivative of the first song. I mean, nobody's kicking the other guy out of the song, but...
if that happens, then the new lyricist is really not entitled to anything.
Really?
No, it has to be agreed to in advance. You can't just rewrite and make a derivative of my song without contacting me and telling me and making an agreement with me.
Okay, I'll let him know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why these laws exist, is to protect those people, us, you know, from somebody doing something, even if they don't know about it, from something stealing our copyrights. That's why, you know. So we have to take care of these things up front.
So with these two songs that the other guy wrote that probably doesn't know they've been rewritten, do I say I was, you know, just in the seminar and I was told that the original writers have to be, you have to get their permission before rewriting, before bringing on an extra writer to rewrite the song? Yeah. And now that he hasn't at this point, what do I tell him to do?
Contact them, have them contact you, you all have to have a discussion.
Doesn't he have to tell the original writer, hey, I redid this? And
yes, but again, he didn't. And again, it's happened to me, and I would not allow it. I would not allow it. You know, that's all. I would not allow it. Now, if you discussed it with me up front, I also might not allow it, but I might. I might go, all right, how are we going to split this? Okay, maybe you and I will write it together if there's something you want changed.
Right.
You know?
I agree. I'd be very upset if somebody took my lyric and rewrote it and tell me. At least give me the chance to rewrite it first.
Exactly. That happened to me just actually recently, and I eliminated another person. I eliminate these people. I tell them off, eliminate them, and don't allow it every time. And it has happened many times, unfortunately. You know, and I don't know why it happens. I guess they think somebody else is important and they want to hook up with them, and they don't have anything new, so they throw them this. I don't really know, but I can only tell you that it's not going to fly, you know, and it's going to cause you grief later on.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you wouldn't like it if the tables turned, and so you would feel really disrespected, and you would feel hurt, and you know, you would say that again. Yeah. Oh, am I there? Huh? Am I there?
I still hear you, Michelle.
Oh, now I do.
I hear you. Yay, Ben.
Okay.
Am I there? Yeah, I don't know what happened. Some brief something. But anyway, I would feel really hurt, and you would feel really hurt too. So yes. We're all writers here, and we're sensitive people, and we need to keep everything on the up and up and be contacted and dealt with, and you know. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. So I was hearing something else.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna write him an email now and just say, hey, here's the situation, and you know, when it comes to other writers, they need to agree on how the songs are being split and registered, and should have had the chance to approve it beforehand, but I didn't know his situation. He made it sound like everything was cool, so I assumed his situation is, and maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, unless you can have that other writer tell you it's okay, you're just playing with fire.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could just tell them the situation happened the other way, you know, and and now you have to be careful to make sure that, you know, everything is taken care of. You know, you don't want to hurt and step on anybody else.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Well, I hope you're going to take care of this, Deborah.
I promise.
Wow. Amazing. What a time.
I hope other people learn from this too. You know, that's why I'm sharing it, so that other people, when they get to the situation, can ask the right question and before they waste time.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I've narrowed my songwriting world down so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I write with my main partner, and sometimes we bring in a third writer who I put through the third degree before they show up. And, but I pretty much have narrowed it where it used to be really wide, and I wrote with a ton of people because I've been screwed so many times.
Yeah, everybody's all about co-write, co-write, co-write. I'm like, I have a very small amount of people that I write with that I'm comfortable with, and I just try to politely turn people down because it's just too complicated. There's just so much work and energy that goes into it. I invested in this guy because he's got, you know, I like him, and I do believe that he has a lot of talent, and you know, and whatever it is will be taken care of. You know, he's a professional guy. Yeah, he might not be the one to always take care of the business stuff. He probably has managers doing that, but it'll get done, you know. And I'm cool with whatever gets done. Whether you know, I wouldn't necessarily be cool if the guy says no, don't redo those lyrics, because I wrote 2 really great lyrics on those songs. But hey, I'll have someone else put a track to them and pitch them on my own, and I'll own them and not deal with other people. That's what I find is the easiest, of dealing with fewer people as possible, because 99.9% of the time, people don't take care of the business stuff.
Right. And you know that too, you have to change the melody. You can't like just use it.
Oh, of course. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I would just take the lyric and, you know, or he can rewrite the melody and come up with a new song, you know.
Sure.
If the third guy says, no, I don't want that to happen, but he does, I let him know that he needs permission from that third guy. Maybe he got it. I don't know. I just need to be assured that he has.
And you have to do it in writing. Don't make a phone call.
Yeah.
Document.
It's all an email, so.
That's good, because, you know, when it's not documented in writing, then you're screwed.
That's why I take care of everything. I almost talk to nobody. I just email everybody.
But like, you know, there's someone I'm working with now who always wants to talk on the phone, but then he has like ADD and he forgets what we discussed. And I'm like, no, we have to do this by email. We have to have a record of
Jonathan's like that. Jonathan will not put one thing in writing. And I was like, he's my dear friend. I see him all the time, but I don't write with him anymore. Because he's just doesn't have his act together when it comes to the business stuff.
Yeah, so it's not so it's good. So we're all learning,
you
know, lots of stuff, and I think it's good. I think it's, and of course, I only learned the hard way too. I only learned by bad things happening and having to get tougher, and you know, being shocked every time. But I mean, you did.
It's shocking every time. How it is shocking every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, I appreciate you sharing that, because it just makes me learn and reminds me of a lot of things I need to do.
Good. Yeah, we all do. It reminds us all. It's a constant renewal of reminding us, you know, of these things, because sometimes we just want to jump in and not pay attention and be what we think is the nice person, the nice girl, and just, you know, jump in there and do it. But it's like, oh,